All right. What's good, everybody? Happy Saturday. We're in here. I hope everybody is having a great weekend. Shout out to Kyle. What's up with you, bro? How you doing? Man, we might give it like a quick little second here just to make sure we all good to go. And then we'll get started with the latest things going on this week. How am I sounding? How's everything looking? I hope it's looking good. Once again, I hope we all had a great week. Off to the start of the month, man. We're almost halfway through the year, bro. I can't believe it, bro. Can't believe it. Cannot believe it. Let's see, man. Goodness gracious. Man, about to stream with y'all. We got to hang out here for a bit, then we're going to get rocking, you know what I mean? Gonna get rocking. I got a whole bunch of anime series to catch up on and whatnot, so that'll be fun. That'll be fun. What's everybody watching right now, too, man? Like, what series have you guys been watching? I got like a whole like list written down literally in a book that I'm like using to keep track of. So like what I'm doing during the week is I'm like catching up on backlog and then I watch everything on Sunday. You feel me? What's insane, bro? Oh, the whole Yunyun Syndrome thing? Yeah, bro. Look, we're going to be talking about that broader topic of just Western localizations, bro. Like we all know there's been a lot going on with that. And man, it bears talking about as always. So definitely, dude. But yeah, all right, cool. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and jump into it, man. We'll go ahead and get started. So look, as always, there's been a lot going on in the anime and manga space this past week. However, one of the biggest pieces of news was the latest localization controversy surrounding the translation of a highly anticipated game, an anime game called Yunyun Syndrome. Now, fans of the game soon noticed egregious issues with the game's English script, and soon this complete just vandalization was spreading like wildfire across social media. So we'll get further into it, but I have to say, like from reading the examples of the botched English script compared to the original source material, this is one of the worst examples of terrible English localization that I've ever seen. Like with phrases like Yamato, and Yamato literally means just stop. That's all it means. Being translated into things like end fascism. What the fuck? Let me see. Restoria, bro. How fire has Restoria been, bro? Oh man, pretty much damn near everything you have on your list, Kyle, I'm watching except for ReZero and Witch Hat Atelier. So I'm checking out Nippon Sangoku. I haven't checked out Mao yet. Dames of the Shadow Realm, fire. Restoria, fire. I've been watching Gal Can't Like Otaku. What else? Fucking man, I gotta grab the book before I'm done. I got like gang that I'm checking out, bro. It's been dope. Like we're eating so good this season, bro. We're eating so good. But yeah, that's a good little list you got there, Kyle. Real talk. But let me see, where was I? So look, this localization of this game, Yunyun Syndrome, was so poor that the studio behind the game was forced to make a public statement and rapidly work to get the game script corrected. More than that, when looking into Dragon Baby, the localization team behind the terrible English script, you learn that some of the heads of that team have been responsible for over 200 localization projects, with one head, a man named Justin, previously being fired by, or at least like spoken very poorly of, by Hideo Kojima himself. Like Hideo Kojima, Metal Gear Solid. Like, come on, bro. So as we all know, Western localizations have been a huge problem for years now, with many Western localizers taking the opportunity to absolutely just vandalize scripts, bro, often inserting their own personal politics, sexual identity, activism, and more. The voices of Japanese creators, their vision is really being altered, censored, and distorted intentionally by rogue localizers. Localizers that in many instances openly brag about the alterations that they're making. Like they're not even trying to hide it many times, you know what I mean? So in many instances, Japanese studios have no idea what's happened until fan outrage like reaches them, whether via social media, whether people reach out directly, things of that sort. However, repeated issues like these can really like work to undermine and damage an IP. And to me, they really speak to attempts by Western bad actors to censor Japanese anime, manga, light novels, and the related properties at the source. So since it seems that they are largely failing to get Japanese creators to conform to Western like identity politics, overall insanity, it looks like many of the Western bad actors and activists who kind of masquerade as professional translators are taking it upon themselves to really alter and pervert works whenever they have the opportunity. And until a solution presents itself, it's really going to be up to us as fans to keep our eyes open, to really stay vigilant, and to really raise the alarm whenever these situations occur. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about this broader topic. We're going to react to videos breaking it down further, and then we'll kind of go from there. Yeah, bro. Yeah, the translation errors is weird. Yes, dude. More than being weird, bro, it speaks to people who really just don't respect the medium that they're fucking supposed to be fans of. Like, to me, like, if you're a localizer, if you're a translator, bro, working on anime, manga, light novels, anime games, so on and so forth, you should be a fan first and foremost. And it's getting to the point where, can we even call these people tourists? I don't even know if tourist is like the correct word anymore, because what they're doing is they're really vandalous. You know what I'm saying? Like, is vandalous a word? Like, they're vandalizing these projects because they can't, like I said, get these Japanese creators to conform to the Western virus. You know what I mean? That Western mind virus. These people have the mind virus, bro. And largely, unfortunately, like, I'll be honest with you, Kyle, that's been a big reason why, like, I haven't been watching, like, Wit Chat, for example. I don't know if you caught, like, my last stream or whatnot, but kind of like the controversy that she kind of experienced and just some of the comments she made about female underrepresentation in the anime and manga space, which is so untrue. And while she was kind of led into some of those questions, is like the fact that there's been such a big push by Western organizations, specifically like UN ESEO, for Witch Hat, it turned me off to the series, bro. I was like, I don't even want to fucking watch this now. Even though from all the clips I've seen, the animation looks fucking insane, bro, but it soured me. But yeah, so now let's fucking get down to this shit, bro. Let's see what we're looking at here. So we got this first article here that's going to kind of work to kind of sum up what had happened for us. And then we're going to dive into some other things, some tweets, things of that sort. We're going to kind of break it down. You feel me? So starting it off, this is from Niche Gamer, who's always a great resource when it comes to things going on, whether it be in gaming, anime, manga, so on and so forth. And they said this is talking about the response from the publisher initially, but they break it down even further. So publisher and developer WSS Playground, co-publisher Alliance Arts, and co-developer HuYu announced an update for Yunyun Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis, to address its divisive English localization. We are aware that many players, especially those enjoying the game primarily in English, have raised concerns about the quality of the localization, the team said in a new message. While it is difficult to review every single message in detail, I am reading as many of your comments as possible. They added, based on your feedback, I recognize that the English translation requires some revisions, which was an understatement. As a first step, we are currently discussing and addressing the text shown in the images. Examples of botched localizations found in the game include phrases like end fascism, I will never be victimized under fascism again, I'd cut my uterus out if I could, and so on. Yunyun Syndrome Rhythm Psychosis was just released for PC via Steam on April 23rd, though it was immediately met with criticism for its English localization, which was handled by Tokyo-based company Dragon Baby, who we'll talk more about. So Dragon Baby is a Tokyo-based, but they have a lot of like people from the West, the U.S. specifically, working there, right? So it remains to be seen how things like Yamato, which is Japanese for stop or stop it, was translated or localized to end fascism. Like, it's so egregious, you can't even, like, there's no logical way you get from stop to end fascism. What the fuck are we doing right now, right? The team said they apparently worked very closely with the localization teams in English from the start. So I'm like, how isn't this caught? Are they sliding this shit at the end? Like, what's going on? Because what's funny about localization is you have, like, the translation, and then there's supposed to be a QA team who goes over everything to make sure it's good. The issue is a lot of times the translation and the QA may be handled by the same team, which is why how some of this shit will get through, right? So regardless, the team has already released an update to correct the egregious translation errors already and plans to review all in-game text alongside our localization partners while making sure the final product fully represents my vision. And that's kind of to the point that I was speaking about earlier, right? So as a Japanese creator, as a foreign creator, you have a vision, you have a product, you have something that you've put forth. And all this team is supposed to be doing is translating and localizing it to a target language. Now, there's going to be times where it can't necessarily be one-to-one, but what they're supposed to be doing is keeping it as close to the source material as possible while still having it make sense in the target language. But it's clear that they're not doing these things. So look, here's some examples of what happened. So this was the localization. The script was, so the source material would have said, somebody stop this. The localization says, end fascism. The original source material says, their command spells ain't got nothing on me. This was the English localization. I will never be victimized under fascism again. How do you go from their command spells ain't got nothing on me to I will never be victimized under fascism again? What the fuck are we doing, bro? What are we doing? Once again, the script, the original source material, don't want them anyway. They localize that into I'd cut my uterus out if I could. What are we doing? The original source material, loser. The localization, oh my God, jabroni. Like, what the fuck, bro? Original script. Welcome to the new era, y'all. The localization. Tech bros are so gross. How do you go from welcome to the new era to tech bros are gross? Original source material. Not interested anyway. The old. Oh, the localization. Who the fuck wants kids anyway? So once again, egregious errors done largely on purpose. It's one of those things. There's no way you can read these sort of localizations and think that this is anything but intentional. They're always trying to push the lines to see what they can get away with, because at the end of the day, they know that anime, manga, anime games, so on and so forth, are a medium that is growing exponentially. They know it has an immense amount of reach, and they will do anything to shoehorn their politics, their identity politics, their activism into these scripts, because they cannot get Japanese creators to conform at the source for the most part, which they've tried to do. Please believe that they're trying to do this, but it's largely failing. So what they're trying to do is alter it when they get the product in their hands. And that's why you see so many issues with like Crunchyroll dubs, so on and so forth, that we'll kind of check and see later on in the stream as we get to it, right? Literal insanity. So here was the full message from the developer. We'll kind of read that out and then we'll go on to the next part here. So he says, and imagine, bro, imagine your game, because Yunyun Syndrome like went through a lot of delays. This was actually supposed to come out last year, but it's going through delays, it's having its issues, and then you finally managed to get the product to market, only to have this bullshit happen, bro. Like, I can't imagine how these people must be feeling. Like, how terrible that must feel. But anyway, so he says here, hello, everyone. My name is Fuyuki Hayashi, from Huyu, the creator of Yunyun Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis. As this is an urgent matter, please allow me to communicate via machine translation. First of all, thank you very much to everyone who has purchased Yunyun Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis, added it to your wish list, or shown interest in the game. We are aware that many players, especially those enjoying the game primarily in English, have raised concerns about the quality of the localization. These comments have been shared through Steam reviews and the community hub, as well as on X, YouTube trailer comments, Discord, and other platforms. I'll stop there. That's why it's so important for us to be loud and vocal. Look, guys, we have to remember something very, very important. These tourists, these activists, these fake fans are a vocal minority. So it is important, like, as anime and manga and their properties continue to grow, we can't really afford to be a silent majority. We have to be a vocal majority. When these things happen, we need to make noise, we need to call it out, so on and so forth, because look, otherwise, what we risk having happening, if we don't speak, these bad actors will speak for us, bro, and then the people who are creating the IPs and the properties that we love so much will get the wrong idea, and then Japanese and manga are cultural, and their aspects and these characteristics that we love are Japanese, inherently Japanese, but then they may start to think, oh, well, maybe we should flip a little something here and there. If we don't want that to happen, we have to be vocal. It's so important. I cannot stress it enough. But anyway, development on this title was very fast, and some of you have noticed there are still some places in the English version that represent old versions of the Japanese text or include display issues regarding kanji and cutoff lines. We are now working on looking into these. Also, based on your feedback, I recognize that the English translation requires some revisions. As a first step, we are currently discussing and addressing the text shown in the images below. End fascism. I will never be victimized under fascism again. The magical girl personas of all your apps. Duh. Someone hired that Mr. Robo guy. LOL. I'd cut my uterus out if I could, etc. Like, bro, fucking Gen Z, Zoomer fucking slang, Reddit slang, fucking internet shit. Like, that's gonna make the game's localization, translation, and subs look so dated in a year or two. And they do this constantly, bro. Completely unprofessional. These changes will be implemented by the end of today, which corresponds to the time that you see there. In addition, while a detailed schedule has not yet been finalized, we plan to review all in-game text alongside our localization partners in the near future and make sure the final product fully represents my vision. All of the Japanese text was written and crafted by me personally, and I also worked very closely with our localization teams in English from the very start to create a version that represents my vision for Yunyun and Kyutai's world. The scenario itself is something I carefully wove together over a long period of time with my own thoughts and emotions included in it deeply. The characters are like my own precious children to me, and above all, everyone who plays the game or looks forward to it is truly irreplaceable to me. Look at that. He's like, I had a vision. This has been something that I've been deeply attached to, only to have that fucking ruined, bro. And you having to go back forth and see what happened. People coming to you like, yo, what's going on here? So on and so forth, bro. Like, like I said, I can't imagine how that must feel. So I want you to have a wonderful experience, and I want more people to come to love Yunyun Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis, as well as the characters Kyutai and Yunyun. To achieve that, I am committed to doing everything I possibly can. If possible, we would greatly appreciate your support. For any feedback regarding localization, please submit your comments through the feedback form. Whether your impressions are positive or point out areas of concern, sharing the parts that stood out to you will greatly help us understand where to focus our future localization checks. Your feedback is extremely important to us. Please rest assured that we have carefully reviewed the comments already received, and we deeply value every player who supports this game. Look, bro, if they haven't woken up yet to the fact that they need to double, triple, and quadruple check localization work that these studios are doing for them, in addition to past reviews of past work that they've done, at this point, bro, something is needed. Something is needed to assist these studios, because in Japan, there's like intentionally fucking up an assignment that you got is such a foreign concept to them. Like, they're not even thinking like, yo, I'm hiring you to just translate this. And they're like, oh yeah, but they're gonna go ahead and fucking try to take it behind the shed and give it the business. Like, god damn, bro. But now let's jump over to some tweets here that kind of dived into a little bit more as well. So boom, this was the tweet directly from the studio that linked to the article that we just read. And they're like, so you can see here, 1.5 million views, like so on and so forth. And we have comments under it from Adam Savvy, who's always super bass. It sure would be swell if these freaks could be turned into examples. It would be interesting to see the contract and dialogue between you and whoever you used. It would be swell if a lawsuit can come of it. And look, here's Packer Girl, who's always up on it too. It needs to be redone from scratch. Fire these assholes and hire someone like Bansama to do it. Yes, indeed. And look at that. Look at this. So it's nice that you notice it, but I hope you realize it's not just some of the sentences that were posted. The translation is a wholesale rewrite that is additionally stripping the game from everything that the target audience expected of it. Oh, yeah. So that was another thing. So they didn't just change lines of the script. They actually removed references to other anime series in the game. So the game referenced other anime, other IPs, things of that sort. And essentially, it seems like what ended up happening, and this will probably be broken down further in the YouTube videos that we're going to react to talking about the topic, but they removed references to anime series that essentially they viewed as problematic. So they really essentially took this creator's work and redid it, completely vandalized it, bro, essentially. You know what I mean? It's insane, bro. It's insane. You just see all these tweets here. Maybe just change translators, just like how old people don't like to admit that they got scammed. If you work closely, how did I would cut my uterus out if I could? Yeah, bro, and look at this Discord. Now people are like, well, yeah, if you work closely, how did you miss all this shit? Like, overall, it turns what should be a moment of celebration, you finally releasing a series that you've been working on dearly, and just getting shit on, bro. And that's terrible. And then if you look here, boom, this is once again, so this was what was posted to the official Steam store. Once again, we went through the whole thing, we read it. It's like, look, so they're having to address this on Steam, they're having to address this on Twitter, all this type of shit. So if you look here was a tweet from Hiro Hey. And this kind of talks about, he broke down a little bit here who Dragon Baby kind of is. And I think he'll do further in the video as well. I personally didn't watch the video yet, so we can kind of react to it live together. But he's like, these two are some of the highest ranking members of the English localization company Dragon Baby, responsible for this disaster. Blaustein in particular, so that's the dude Justin I was talking about earlier, is particularly interesting. He has a history of working on Japanese to English localizations as far back as the early 90s to early 2000s. But after that, it seems that many Japanese companies stopped working with him. In interviews, it's written that Blaustein was fired from a Japanese company for insubordination, and that when working on Metal Gear, Kojima himself disliked Blaustein's work, and some even say Kojima had Blaustein fired from working on Metal Gear. Decades later, he's resurfaced to a more public-facing position, and we see how Dragon Baby butchered the Japanese to English localization of Yunyun Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis, so badly that the Japanese devs are currently working on hot-fixing the entire mess. Some might even speculate, and this is what I think might have happened, some might even speculate that on top of using their positions to force the political rhetoric into Japanese games, Blaustein holds a level of malice towards Japanese creatives due to his prior conflicts. Full coverage, link below. Look, and so that's the one dude, Jeremy, and this other dude, Sam Burton. So remember these people. Typical stuff, pronouns, bios, all that shit. You feel me? Ridiculous, bro. And then that Packer Girl talked about it. Oh, yeah, so she had here. So Packer Girl, it seems, has been up on this dude for a minute. This tweet is from 2 years ago. It says, investigating further into Dragon Baby CEO Jeremy. So he's the CEO. He's not even high up. He's the CEO. Jeremy Blaustein himself, who spent the past 30 years botching over 200 localizations. This was prior to him even founding the company. So what do you think he's doing now? with an entire company at his disposal and the access that he may or may not have. And it always kind of begs the question, how are some of these studios, to be honest, not tracking to this at this point? I don't know. And then this was Chibi's kind of take on it as well. He dropped a tweet. He said, I hope you realize how bad the situation is for the English translation team for the Japanese account to acknowledge and basically call out the Yamato to end fascism translation. Boom. And it goes into the whole thing. And then there's scratch more here. And this is just, now we're getting into kind of the broader topic of the issue with localizations in general, right? And this was from a dude called Scratch Point, tweet with over about 10,000 views. Usually has a pretty good perspective. He said, localization discourse is also, this was him responding to this person's tweet here. He says, really sucks that localization discourse is such a culture war minefield. Impossible to have any genuine discussion about it. And I'm like, that in itself is already a bad faith take, because what do you mean it's impossible to have a genuine discussion about it? There really is no discussion to be had about it. These people are supposed to be translating the work as faithfully as possible. They're not supposed to be taking creative license with the work and dramatically changing, altering the source material, removing shit altogether as they see fit, injecting their politics as they see fit. This isn't a discussion. It's a lack of quality standard, and it's people who are intentionally destroying works to fit their identity politics because they can't get Japanese creators to accept the virus. They can't get them to drink the Kool-Aid, so they're like, fuck it, we'll just change it and hope we don't get caught. But the issue now is that social media has become such a ground for discussion, and people are on it, bro. People, like, they underestimate our power as real fans, and they think, oh, these idiots, like, because these localizers, bro, and the people who support them and who make stupid ass comments like this think that we're fucking stupid, bro. They think we're not gonna notice, we're too dumb, we're just gonna fucking consume and not call shit out. No, bro. You think we're gonna let you guys do what you guys have done to Star Wars and Star Trek, what they're trying to do to Lord of the Rings, all types of shit? No, bro. People have seen these properties destroyed. Western IP largely is a wasteland now because of people like this. But yeah, to get into his point here, he says, localization discourse is only tainted because of the people in favor of vandalizing Japanese media are incapable of being honest. They lie, distort, and manipulate it when it all boils down to defending their preferences over sticking to the original script. They'll defend the worst, most indefensible changes just to feel like they're getting one over on people they've deemed an enemy. The culture war aspect has never been the main problem. The core issue with localization is being unfaithful to the original script. Political inserts by modern localizers are just a symptom of that. The reality is very simple. People who truly enjoy and respect Japanese media would like to experience it with as faithful of a translation as possible. That's not too much to ask. Anyone pretending it's impossible is only doing so because at best, they've either bought into decades of localizer propaganda, or worse, they're replacing the aforementioned friend-enemy distinction above the Japanese media itself. That in and of itself is a very interesting point and concept, right? There are people who are so politically galvanized into one direction or another. They're like, yeah, they may even admit privately to themselves that they know that this is terrible. But because the people who are doing this are on their side of the political aisle, whether it's activism, leftist activism, progressive activism, whatever, that they would rather see them win than who they perceive as the chuds, which is all non-tourist fans. Please believe, if you're not a tourist, bro, if you're a genuine fan, they see you as a chud. They don't fuck with you, right? They don't fuck with us. They'd rather see IP localization destroyed so that they can get a perceived W than see proper localization done, right? Because that's something that is generally championed on our side of the aisle, the chud side of the aisle, right? So, once again, continuing, that's not too much to ask. Anyone pretending it's impossible is only doing so because at best they've either bought into, like I said, into decades of localizers for propaganda, or worse, they're placing the aforementioned friend-enemy distinction above Japanese media itself. So, to fix the localization issue is faithful translations that adhere as closely as possible to the original, and everyone, regardless of their affiliation, should want that if they really care about the source material. AKA, if you're not a tourist, this is something that you should be interested in seeing have happen, right? Exactly, bro. And here was another tweet here from a dude called Learning the Law, who's also pretty based on here. He's like, and this is a response. So a lot of times what you'll see when it comes to the discourse behind localizer controversy and drama, they'll always be like, oh, they're not intentionally trying to fucking insert anything. Like, this is just a conspiracy theory. Like, nobody's trying to do that. That's what you'll hear echoed from their side of the aisle. Gaslighting. They're always going to try to gaslight you to make you think that you're going crazy. But this is statements. They forget that the internet is forever. These are statements directly from people who are working as these localization teams at these various Japanese companies who are Westerners, right? Once, and this is from back in the day, one statement from Frank Genti, the senior localization manager at Bandai Namco, attributes some of the changes to the Me Too movement and that they need to tell Japanese game developers dress their heroines. We tell them that the cleavage is a bit too exposed. They don't fuck with the heavies. Or the skirt is a bit too short. Sexuality is like their kryptonite. They hate it. Female sexuality is just the most evil thing in existence to them. I don't understand it. For people who champion sex work and things of that sort, scantily clad anime babes seems to make them quite uncomfortable. We tell them that the cleavage is a bit too exposed or the skirt is a bit too short. Before, they weren't very flexible, but they've become more proactive on such subjects. The fuck? Who are you guys trying to gaslight? You're 100% trying to get them to change shit with your Western puritanical bullshit that has destroyed your own IP. And what it comes down to is like people are finding the alternative now. They're losing even more control. So they're like, fuck, we need to fuck up where the side of the grass that they're going to play on. They're taking their ball to go play on another court. We gotta go fuck that court up so that they have to listen to us. And saying these well-organized localizers spend every day positioning themselves to enter and influence the Japanese industry, all while claiming they are harmless and only want to respect the original source. Never trust them. Let's see some in the comments of this. Yeah, so when are gamers going to learn Japanese and get into these companies to cure the localization scourge? We can't do nothing and hope the left-wing infrastructure of cultural vandalism just collapses by some ill-defined force of nature that will surely manifest for vague reasons. The biggest thing that we can do initially is to make sure that our voices are being heard and that we're being vocal in these spaces. That's why at this point, it's very important not to see these online spaces. Because look, bro, at this point in time, dog, if we don't speak up, it's going to be a problem. Yeah, the skirt is too short. Look at that. I'm like, once again, these are supposed to be feminists, people who are championing women empowerment, so on and so forth. So you're saying that they need to dress like nuns? Like, I'm super confused. You can't have your cake and eat it too. People are saying the Japanese government should make working with any such foreigners to diminish Japanese soft power by tampering with its media treason. And so, okay, I don't know about all that. Yeah, look, bro. Anyway, so let's see what else Packer Girl was talking about here, if I had any other teas. Oh, yeah, bro. So this is another one. This is another example of a poor localization. Like I said, you will see this a lot in, like, dub scripts that have been localized into English, right? So these localizers belong on a registry. Crunchyroll localizers can, and this is from, when was this tweet from? Yeah, this is from just a few days ago, maybe like 2-3 days ago. So Crunchyroll localizers continue their botchery of Reborn as a vending machine. I now wander the dungeon season 3. And this is some examples from the dub. So the dub says, we call this shiz stranger danger. The subtitle script, this is not a safe person. We call this shiz stranger danger. Zoomer, fucking vernacular, internet, Reddit speak. Like, come on, bro. Now this is going to be the most dated fucking dub script ever. When you're watching this in a few years, you're going to be like, wow, this script is terrible. You feel me? It's super dated. Dub, it's like a Russian novel, anime style. The original script. The captain's son's life is too tragic. How? My God, bro. My God, bro. That chick belongs on a registry. This poor kid got curse whammied, then woke up only to be held hostage. The original script says, I thought you'd awaken from a long sleep to find yourself a hostage. Bro. The dub, meaning the munchkin went method and had us totally marking out. What the fuck does that even mean? Original script. Then his agony was just a performance for our benefit. Bro. Oh my God, bro. Like, come on, bro. And then we got another one from Scratch Point that we'll finish up here before we get to the videos. Summing of the point as well. So this is his response to, once again, some discourse online about this shit. He said, I'd be way more sympathetic to the cause if people didn't use anti-localization as a cudgel. Most of them don't mean I want more faithful translations. They mean I want to think I want what I think will be the more right-wing version of the story. This in and of itself, bro, is the issue, because now they view it as a right-left issue, right? When all people are saying is we want faithful adaptations. But that's the thing, is people on that side of the aisle, people who have the mind virus, are so ideologically captured that now they're like, yo, they'll ride for poor localizations because they view it as not letting the chuds win. So are you a fan or not? Because if you're a fan, you should be sympathetic to the Japanese creator who's having his vision, his IP, destroyed as he works to bring it to a broader audience. That's all that should matter. Right wing, left wing shouldn't matter at all. That should have nothing at all to do with this. Right or wrong. Right or wrong. Boom. So, once again, it says most people who oppose these botched localizations are not using it as a cudgel for anything. The point is to advocate for the most faithful translation possible that allows the creator's true version of the story to shine through in English. There are very, very few, if any, who are asking that a localization aligns with their personal worldview instead of whatever the localizer wrongfully inserted in any given situation. Anyone who would ask for such a thing is obviously not someone who is interested in faithful translation. But again, this is certainly not a widespread sentiment. Any potential label that can be given to the most faithful version of the story is merely coincidental. This just reads like typical excuses used by disingenuous actors to justify dismissing genuine examples of poor translations that deviate from the original Japanese. If one truly cares about faithful translation, all that matters is the principle. The ultimate goal is faithful translations that adhere to the original work. No one of value wants to insert their own narrative into someone else's creative work. Localizers need to be held accountable for what they continue to do to Japanese media. I completely agree. And we have a comment here. Dario, what's up with it, bro? He said, DxD is an interesting series, but if Issei's personality was more like Naofumi or Ichigo, end of his fighting style was more like Kazuma from Escryed, he would get more respect. What do you think? You said if Issei's personality was more like Naofumi. Yeah, I think Issei is a bit of like, has like that doofus personality, that persona, right? But he locks in when he needs to. But yeah, I think if his personality was more like Naofumi or Ichigo, you know what I'm saying? Or even Kazuma for that example, and he fought like Kazuma for Escryed, then like he might be like, yeah, he would be like super duper cool. He might be even too cool for like a setting like DxD. I don't know. I personally would fuck with it. I see where you're coming from. I think that would be dope, but I see what they're going for when it comes to Issei and DxD, which also is one I need to rewatch. It's been a while since I watched it. But yeah, dude, nice comment. I see you there. That's dope. Cool. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into and react to some videos. Once again, breaking it down. We got some stuff from Rev. We got some stuff from Hero Hey, once again. And then we'll continue to just dive into this topic, man. Localization drama. Once again, if you haven't already, make sure that you like the stream. Do me a favor. Subscribe to the YouTube. A lot of content coming. Just like I said, I've been saying for a while here. Just waiting on the editor. But yeah, man, we hang out usually every Friday night. Had some stuff going on yesterday, so we pushed it to Saturday. So it's an episode of Friday Night Run on a Saturday, which is dope. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Push the stream out. Share the stream with your friends. Let's get it rocking and socking as we get ready to jump into some videos talking about the topic. But yeah, man, anime content, usually same stuff, isekai stuff, great deep dives, lore breakdowns, so on and so forth, man. That is what we do here on the Coffee Summit page. So let's get it. Boom. So we got our first video here, and this is Rev kind of breaking it down. It looks like he did one pretty in-depth. He's been covering stuff like this for a minute, so this will be real good for us to see.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rev here. So it appears that maybe for once, actions will have consequences when it comes to the localization of Japanese media. This time we see the creator of the rhythm game Yunyun Syndrome coming out with a statement saying that they'll be addressing and revising the many errors made in the English localization of their game. Errors that include not only completely botched translations, but also political messages that have been needlessly shoehorned into this game. I mean, just look at one example right here. This is comedically ridiculous, the level of irresponsibility from these localizers. And as a result of many mistranslations being discovered, people are digging into the localizers responsible for this, and after looking at all of their various political and gender ideology type posting, it starts to make sense as to why something like Yamaro is being translated into end fascism.
These people aren't professionals. They are professionals. They're just not professional localizers. They're professional activists who are once again trying to infiltrate and position themselves in position in these Japanese companies so that they can affect what they view as necessary change at the source. Because they can't get the creators to alter their creative visions. So they're like, you know what? They're on a crusade. They're like, we're going to do it ourselves then. We're going to take it upon ourselves. And as much as they can get through without getting caught, they're going to do. You got to understand with these people, whatever they can take, whatever they can get. And you got to imagine, for every project that gets caught, for every set of errors that gets caught, how many more are not being caught? How many are flying under the radar, bro? It's important, if you're a fan of an IP, for you to check it out, for you to support it, so that way you can see if things are being done the right way. Super important.
In the English localization. And don't worry, as per usual, those pointing out these errors in the localization are being met with death threats by localizer defenders. Now, what is the game we're talking about today? How did we get here? Well, a few days ago, this game called Yunyun Syndrome Rhythm Psychosis was released on Steam, and as you can see, despite everything going on, it has a very positive rating on Steam. And to sum this up, it is a rhythm adventure game about a psychotic hikikomori girl, also an avid anonymous poster, you hear that, Anons, who corrupts the world with her severe brain rot from listening to too many Denpa songs. So everything's
That game sounds absolutely insane. I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm not gonna hold you. That sounds like a good time, for real, for real.
seems good, right? Everyone's happy. This is just another rhythm game. People are enjoying it. No complaints about the game itself, until it is discovered that the English localizers have struck again, botching so many translations, not just through their incompetence, but also through their intentional actions. They are intentionally butchering these messages to include their politics, their gender ideology, whatever they want. And this is a very common problem when it comes to not just translations, but particularly localizations of Japanese media as they go out to English-speaking overseas audiences. We've seen this time and time again, and this is just the latest victim. Now, I want to start with this. This is an AI summary on Twitter of this.
And once again, like we talked about, this has been an ongoing issue for a while, going back years and years at this point, man. Poor localizations that are luckily, in many cases, caught by the community. There's an outrage there. Like, for example, so relevant to us, since this is the Mushika Tensei channel, relevant to us, remember, there was a light novel release a few years ago that was so bad that Seven Seas Entertainment, the company who licenses Mushika Tensei, literally had to refund people who had bought the botched translation version because they had removed entire references and things like that. They had drastically altered it. It was really, really bad. This is happening time and time again. We have to be vigilant. It's so important.
Situation, and ironically enough, is very accurate. Okay, it's done a good job, a serviceable job explaining the general context as to what's going on. I point this out because there is a very big debate about AI machine translations for Japanese media versus human localizers. People.
And this is the issue. So these people claim to hate AI all the time, right? You guys are going to hasten your own demise. That you are going to hasten the coming of our AI overlords when these studios are like, you know what? If no other solution presents itself, they're going to be like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just have AI machine translations, which will have like one or two QA people to go over it because it's easier for us to keep track of one or two QA people to make sure that they don't fuck this up. And all you're doing is editing for syntax and grammar. You don't need to really change shit. Just make sure that the shit is readable, and then we'll kind of go from there. They're like, we'd rather deal with that. That way, if there's an issue, we can just blame the machine and work to twerk the machine, or to tweak the machine, as opposed to, because the machine will have no political bias. It will have no activism. It's a machine, right? So yeah, If you're even looking at the AI summary, indie rhythm game Yunyun Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis hit Steam on April 24th, 2026, blending rhythm battles with hikokomori, cuties, or cuties, denpa song obsessions, and online manifestos. English localization swapped neutral Japanese lines for political twists, erasing kanji and anime nods like Haruhi Suzumiya and Steins Gate, unlike faithful versions in Korean. And like I said, and this seems to be an issue that is particular to Japanese to English translations. Somehow, translations to all these other languages tend not to have this issue, but something about English localizers, this is a recurring problem time and time again. But yeah, unlike faithful versions in Japanese, Korean, and others, developer Fuyuki Hayashi responded fast with a patch fixing key issues such as end fascism to stop and pledged a full review to match his vision. Yep.
We're supposed to be trusting to provide accurate translations. And for those who are not familiar, the difference between a direct translation and a localization is often fueled by a smug level of arrogance that says, hey, there's certain Japanese phrases that, well, they're just so primitive. The English-speaking side just would not be able to understand them. So we're going to take them, reword them, rephrase them, and repackage them in a way that the Western audience will be able to understand. Now, this often ends up with completely changed context thanks to the work of these localizers who love to forcibly insert their own political beliefs and cringe jokes into Japanese media. Complete vandalization.
Complete vandalization. And here's the thing, a lot of times they're like, oh man, I think I can write this better than the person who I've been hired by to change or to translate this. I mean, I think they should have said this instead of this. Bro, that's not your job, bro. Your job is to translate as faithfully as possible the source material that you were giving. It's not to add your own little take, your own little spin. You're like, oh, your own little nuances. No, bro. Translate the work, make sure it lands in English to the best of your abilities, and leave the vision intact. That's all you're supposed to be doing, bro. Nobody wants your opinions. Nobody wants your take on this, bro. We just want a fucking translation. God damn it.
Of Japanese media, by the way. It is so disrespectful, but here is the summary on Twitter, and it's a pretty accurate one, like I said, where basically you have this game, Yunyun Syndrome. It comes out, and people discover that the English localization has swapped out neutral Japanese lines for political twists, and they've directly erased, many references in the game to various Japanese media, and some of these changes are just ridiculous, like changing Yamura, which just means stop, to end fascism. Because not only are they making mistranslations, they're changing the entire context surrounding the scene that they're translating to make it work. Poorly, of course. But yeah, you can see the level of intentionality here behind all this. But eventually we will get a fix. But this all took off on Twitter after posts like this got a lot of attention.
And here's the thing, bro. Once again, don't you hate it when a game you are really looking forward to has the worst translation known to man? Look at what this sort of shit does to the momentum of a game, right? Now you're getting downvoted on Steam, poor reviews on Steam, and even when the shit gets fixed, how many people are going to go back and either change or delete negative reviews? No, because the issue still stands, and can you really even ask them to? Can you really even expect them to? These people are hijacking not just IPs, but they're hijacking moments, bro. These people, these creators are working so hard, so diligently. You know how long it takes to take a game from an idea to a finished product? It takes a lot of time. It takes effort. It takes blood, sweat, tears, dedication, motivation, execution to really get there, bro. Only to have the moment hijacked by a rogue Western localization studio who places their personal agenda, activism, and identity politics ahead of the job that they've been hired to do. It's ridiculous, bro. And the only reason it's being brought to light is because dedicated fans are like, what the fuck is this? And then we have to raise a stink, and it creates an entire cloud that hangs over what should have been a joyous moment. It's a shame to see, bro, and it needs to stop.
Beginning by saying, don't you hate it when a game you are really looking forward to has the worst translation known to man? Like, this is so disrespectful. with one of the many negative Steam reviews. And let me just read some of this, okay, to give you an idea of how bad this is. So this user said, "The English translation is a total disrespect to the whole genre. The localization team did a terrible job, inserted political phrases and trans wording. They killed references to various Japanese media. The translator, the localizer, is 25 years old and never watched any anime."
Wait, hold on. Is this true? How do they know this though? How do they know that they never watched any anime? That would be my question. Like, that's something you do. That's not necessarily something you want to just say, but I'll be interested to know like how they found that out. But if that's true, that's fucking insane.
Here are some of the
And mind you, you don't necessarily have to be a person who watches anime to do localization and translation work. That's fine. You just have to respect the professionalism required to do the job. You feel me? Like, if you're a person who's translating, I don't know, like academia or some shit like that, I don't necessarily have to be an academic in that sense. I've just been hired to do a job. I need to do it to the best of my ability, right? Not purposely and intentionally botch the work that I've been giving, hoping that I don't get caught. Or saying, fuck it, even if I do get caught, at least for that moment, the message was in there. Even if it gets changed, at least we managed to get it in there for a little bit.
famous examples. A simple word like Yamaro being translated into end fascism. A fate reference turned into I will never be victimized under fascism again. A line that literally says command spell in Japanese. And that makes a lot of sense if you're familiar with the Fate franchise.
Exactly, yeah. Command seals and the Fate franchise is what they use to control the heroes and heroic spirits that have been summoned. Exactly.
There's another phrase that's
in no way references fascism.
translated into okay, white knight. Or another one that is translated to tech bros are so gross. Or another one that says very interesting, trying to make a pun. Another one that translates to ROFLMAO, deserved.
Once again, Zoomer speak, Zoomer slang, Reddit fucking language, TikTok language. Not only a poor translation. So once again, dude, let's say let's remove the end fascism shit, like the blatant shit, right? You want your localization and your translation to be as timeless as possible. So when you insert slang and things of that sort that is very dated for the period that you're in, it will be dated in a year or 2 or 3, right? So then it's gonna be like, oh man, this is super cringe. You feel me? It will be like fucking 2008, 2009 slang. If they were saying, oh man, that's super tight, bro. Oh, this is super this. Oh, we're gonna plank and do that. Like, what the fuck, bro? You'd be like, ugh, man, when was this game made? Or when was this shit written? Right? It dates it. That's why you want your localization to be as like neutral as possible when it comes to that. That way, whether someone watches it current year or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, they can still enjoy it without being essentially taken out of the immersion by the cringiness of the slang. Because let's be honest, slang is dope in the moment. We know what we're talking, we're saying what we're saying, but eventually as things shift, as they always do, you'll be like, oh man, that's how we was talking back then? Like, goddamn, I don't know about all that, bro. So you don't necessarily want to have that feeling when you're playing a property, unless it was supposed to be like that. Some pieces are period pieces, which can create nostalgia, things of that sort. But even then, you're still like, ah, man, that's crazy. You feel me? And let's see. There's only 5 anime I would like to get isekai'd into. Ruby and Queensblade. Of course you'd want to get isekai'd into Queensblade, bro. Soul leveling and DxD. Hey, okay. I got a chief skill from another world. Let's see. If I could be isekai'd into a world, I'd probably want to be isekai'd into the Tenchi Muyo world. And then I'd want to go off-world, hang out with Jirai or the Galaxy Police. That would be pretty dope. I've actually thought about this before. Yeah, if I could choose to go to another like anime world, it would probably be the Tenchi Muyo world. That entire universe is fucking dope as fuck. You feel me? So definitely Tenchi Muyo for me, brother. Definitely Tenchi Muyo for me.
Like, you don't have to speak Japanese. You don't even have to know what this is to know these are completely butchered translations. Okay? And here's another one saying, to just like influenza LOLs, from influencers to influenza. What? And then another one saying, are they crackheads? And another one saying, yo, WTF, I want to get isekai'd, which has nothing to do with anything going on in the scene, but you get the point, right? A lot of people are pointing out the blatant mistranslations, and that is reflected in the Steam.
Like, bro, look at all these negative fucking Steam reviews, and they are all related to the translation of the game. So imagine, once again now, like, I keep coming back to the creators because they're the true victims in all this. We're victims as fans, but the people who are having their creative vision, the work that they worked so hard to bring to life, destroyed, are the ones who are the true victims here. Imagine you've worked to bring your fucking game to the masses. You finally get across the hump. You finally get across the finish line. The game is live. And you are getting negative reviews, right? And mind you, Yunyun Syndrome on Steam is overall positive for the gameplay. But imagine all the negative reviews that you do have are related not to anything that you did, but to the localization of the game. You're like, hold on, so people are loving the gameplay, but they're pointing out how terrible the translated script is. What the fuck? How would that make you feel? You're like, yo, my game is rated pretty good, but it would be rated even better if it hadn't been for this bullshit. I'd be furious, bro. Furious and inconsolable. My moment has been hijacked, bro.
Reviews overall. All of the negative reviews have nothing to do with the gameplay itself. It has to do with the localization. And I would like to say many such cases. Unfortunately, this happens over and over again, where if the team just provided faithful translations, all of this backlash would not be happening. But again, this hurts the Japanese creators who are trusting these localizers to provide a faithful translation of their original work, and that is not what happened here. And it's not just that we...
And look, so they're saying Yunyun Syndrome came out, and the English localization has come under fire for being one of the worst ones yet. English translators caught removing Kamoji, inserting nonsense about fascism, inserting trans stuff, examples, so on and so forth. And then for those of you guys who don't know, let's look it up real quick. I actually want some clarification on this as well. What is Kamoji? Okay, so Kamoji are Japanese text-based emoticons that use characters and punctuation marks to create detailed, expressive faces, usually read upright rather than sideways. Gotcha. I like it.
Ended up with these mistranslations. These translations are so far departed from other translations. The English ones are so far from the other translations. It's just glaring. Let's see some examples, right? So you can see the various translations in other languages. And in this case, the original Japanese is Yamura, which typically means stop or something similar. They translate in English to end fascism, which is not reflected at all by the translations in other languages. Another one you can see translates to, if everyone is not safe for work, no one is not safe for work. And then, interestingly enough, people have pointed out the various forms of Japanese media, including some very classic anime, and the references in the game that have been completely removed only in the English local.
Once again, that speaks to a degree of intentionality that these people were doing. You look at the series, it was weird. Like, why would you even remove these references? Digimon, Haru Suzumiya, Steins Gate, Rants, Nico Nico Doga, Kanon, Welcome to the NHK, so on and so forth. What is it that they have against these series? What is it that they view as problematic about these series to the point where they deleted their references to these series? And once again, this is only happening in Japanese to English translation. It doesn't happen in the Spanish localization, Chinese localization, Russian localization, places that are even more locked down and puritanical than here. What's going on? You have to ask yourself that question. And don't allow these people to gaslight you into thinking, oh, no, this hasn't been done intentionally. Like, bro, it's so clear. And this is just so egregious that there's no way. It's like, it's one of those things, it's really a mask off moment, to be perfectly honest.
Localization. This didn't happen anywhere else. And you can see people pointing out the localization team called Dragon Baby, which apparently has a very negative reputation. And the head of localization is a person named Sam Burton, and we'll see this person in just a second. But here's some more examples of ridiculous translations. Again, just look at the difference between languages here compared to the English translation. It is completely and utterly ridiculous. And we have the infamous line here about never being victimized under fascism.
And look, so you can tell in the other languages, so they changed it so it says, it's supposed to say, your command seals won't work on me. The English translation, God, I will never be victimized under fascism again. But all the other language, command seal, command seal, command seal, command seal, command seal. Command seal. All the other languages managed to get it right. Korean, Spanish, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Russian. The English one that was the only one that got taken behind the shed and fucked. What are we doing?
Again, people who are even somewhat favorable to localizers, people even give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, are tired of this one. They're even calling out this one. This person saying, usually I don't mind localization all that much, and I think it is lots and lots of benefits when done right, but this is just awful. Here is the localization here. Time to skibidi denpa.
Once again, fucking Zoomer fucking slang, bro. Jesus, so cringe, bro. Once again, time to skibbity dempa all up in this bit. Like, bro, is this a TikTok comment or is this a motherfucking localization of an anime game? Like, what are we doing, kinfolk? Come on.
All up in this bit. Seriously? I mean, not only do we have the cringe-inducing meme references that are already outdated. See, that's the problem.
Bro, once again, yes. Who even says skibbity like that anymore? Memes come and go quickly. Nobody's saying fucking skibbity anymore. They're like, oh yeah, nobody says skibbity anymore, but it's one of my favorite memes. And now I get the chance to put it in an anime game. Maybe I'll even be the one to bring it back to life.
When you shoehorn in Reddit tier humor, especially on references to the current thing, stuff like this, skibbity, is already a dead meme. So you have not only a shoehorned in meme, it's not even like relevant anymore. This is why you just faithfully translate instead of shoehorn in political messages or cringe Reddit humor, right? But all of this makes sense when you start looking at the localizers. You start looking at the team who is responsible for this disaster. You can see this post got a lot of traction saying, you really don't hate localizers enough. Another reminder that this is what happens when you don't gatekeep your hobbies. And before we look at these examples, there's a lot of layers to this, okay? It's not just gatekeeping. I mean, you have Japanese producers and developers, creators, what have you, who are pure in their intentions. They want to come out and provide a proper translation into English. They might not speak English, right? They're trusting these translators who are often pushed in their direction to do the right thing. I mean, why would you think that professionals are going to vandalize?
Especially when you're a Japanese person with Japanese sensibilities. And like in Japan is such a respectful society, such a polite society. And when it comes to professional work, like it would never occur to them in many cases. Obviously, Japanese people are still human as well. I'm sure this happens. But for the most part, especially when you're handling like major projects, major IPs that's going to be seen by thousands, if not millions of people, they're never thinking, oh, this person is going to purposely fuck up the translation that we're paying them to do, no matter how they may feel personally or politically. But they don't understand that the way that people with the mind virus think. For them, it doesn't matter. For them, it's worth sacrificing everything on the altar of ideology. That's all they care about. And like, yes, they'll absolutely risk their professional career. They'll absolutely risk fucking up your project that they're never going to play, that they don't give a fuck about it anyway. And all they're going to do is rinse and repeat. They're like, yo, and then I'll just try to get some more work, and then we'll go from there. They really don't care. They don't care if your project crashes and burns as a result of what they did, as long as they can get the message in. It's like in Independence Day, that line, they're like locusts. They go from planet to planet, using up every natural resources, and when the planet is completely fucking dry, they move on. That's localizers. That's people who make changes to IPs, so on and so forth. They will juice and drain the IP with their ideology until the IP is dead, and then they'll just move on to another one. But at least for a limited amount of time, they manage to milk the inbuilt audience for a period anyway. They're like, all right, cool. People need to see this message. People need to hear this. So while this IP has an audience, we'll put as much of this as we can in there until the audience leaves, and then we'll leave as well. And then everybody loses. The people who love the IP no longer love it. The IP itself is fucked. The creators of the IP are fucked. And the only people who are moving on without a care in the world are the people who are doing the fucking. Ridiculous.
Utilize your work for their own selfish needs and desires. But unfortunately, if you start looking into the people responsible, I mean, it paints a very clear picture, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you can see the communication amongst these localizers, and it's very clear they are completely captured by gender identity politics, completely and utterly captured. Some of these quotes here are crazy. Talking about a character being or having trans/pan eyes, and people asking, will Yunyun feature covers but with modified lyrics to promote queer pride and trans identity? Interesting. Is QT ever going to wave the trans flag? Will we have altering versions of the trans flag in the game as well? Is there a correlation between Denpa and trans identity? And
bro, this is fucking crazy. I hadn't seen this video yet, so I'm like, goddamn. And it's like, obviously, the answer to this should have been no, because that's not what the original creator. It has nothing to do with her gender identity. Like, bro, so no, like. QT is just a Hikokomori and then a non-poster. That's it. You feel me? She's essentially fucking crazy, but it has nothing to do with her sexuality or any of that shit. And this is their obsession. In the Monte Sensei video we're going to watch later, he talks about the identity-obsessed fan. And this is those people who literally cannot see anything past their own gender or political identity and ideology, and it permeates every fashion of their being. And the problem with that is they want and require all of their media to be as identity obsessed as they are. And when it's not that way, they either bitch and moan loudly trying to get it changed, or they try to push through changes in whatever means possible because they view themselves as doing the good work.
You can see people are reacting to these questions with the trans flag and stuff like that. It goes on and on and on. It's very clear that the localizers and all those surrounding them are completely captured by gender identity politics, and that is bleeding over into the game. And of course, one of the people that we just mentioned earlier, Sam Burton, the lead on the localization team, is hiding. They have gone private.
Yeah, you notice that. There's always a couple of things that are usually indicators of bad actors, right? And people who know they've done some bullshit and got caught. When Twitter threads are locked, and then when people protect their tweets, they know. They're like, oh shit, the jig is up, the heat is on. People are on to us.
On Twitter, as you can see, stunning and brave behavior. And you can see, we know the excuses. We've heard it before. This user mocking the situation, in quotes, saying, you can't directly translate Yamaro. Literally no one says stop in English in real life.
Think about that. Nobody says just stop or chill out. You feel me? Like, oh, nah, you've never said, hey man, stop it, chill out before in real life. Gaslighting and completely disingenuous arguments, bad faith arguments, complete bullshit, bro. You can't directly translate Yamato. Literally no one says stop in English in real life. This person has never said stop before. No one's ever been doing something that they didn't like or some shit like that. And they said, hey, yo, just stop, bro, chill. It just sounds unnatural. All right, cool. So stop sounds unnatural, but end fascism says better. You have to understand, you have to consider the cultural nuances of localization and say end fascism. How long, I know, right? Like how long until this excuse floods in to get it? Obviously, and this person's being sarcastic, but we get it, bro. Oh my God, dude.
It just sounds unnatural. You have to consider the cultural nuances of localization and say, end fascism, end quote. How long until this excuse floods in again? Giving it 2 hours, if not yet. And we have heard that exact excuse before. This is mimicking the language of other infamous localizers who have basically said it is impossible to not butcher this translation. The Japanese language is so primitive. Us enlightened English speakers, we have to do something to prop this up to make it make sense, you know? But this person was right. People will start flooding in to defend this nonsense, including totally well-adjusted users like this who had a lot to say.
Let's see it.
Quoting someone else saying,
I'm sorry, am I missing something here? Why was this singled out without context as they TL'd Yamato to end fascism if the entire context of the screen is presented on is relevant? What does it matter? They changed Yamato, which means stop, to end fascism, which means it has nothing to do with the original text at all. Context is irrelevant.
I'm sorry, am I missing something here? Why was this singled out without context as they TL'd Yamato to end fascism if the entire context of the screen it's presented on is relevant? So they show this screenshot of the localization and they try to say this example of Yamato being translated into end fascism is appropriate given the context of the entire scene in the English localization. But of course, this is incredibly dishonest. As pointed out here, it's because the entire context was rewritten.
So that's why, like what we were talking about earlier. So not only did they change individual lines and remove references, but in order to shoehorn in their political ideology, they literally rewrote the game. They rewrote the narrative and the dialogue completely of the game to make it work. Because they knew these individual lines on their own were ridiculous. So like, yo, we have to rewrite the entire context. So imagine the author is going through, and like I said, the original creator probably doesn't speak English, right? So as he's going through, and now he probably has somebody there who speaks both, and they're going through it, and he's finding out now in real time that, yo, this isn't even my game. This isn't my vision at all. And remember his earlier comments that we read at the start of the stream. He says, I put myself into this game. I care about it deeply. I've been working on this, so on and so forth, saying like how hard he worked to bring his vision to light. As he was writing line after line, then working on the visuals, doing all this shit, only to find out that the product that went out in English is not him whatsoever. It is a person who has hijacked the IP that he created and essentially wrote their own story. It's not his work. It's now a piece of fan fiction. How would that make you? I can't imagine how that would make me feel, bro. The feeling of betrayal, the feeling of disgust, anger, revulsion, so on and so forth, bro. To see something like that happen, bro.
As it's the case with the rest of the game. And just like with any other example, you see nothing of the kind with Mantra Inc.'s translations or the original text. Like I said earlier, it's not just about shoehorning in their memes or their politics or whatever. They change the entire context of the related scene to try to make it fit better or to not stand out so much. So they're not just vandalizing a single translation, they're vandalizing the entire context, which makes it even worse. And people are trying to defend this translation by saying, well, the context fits it, but the context was already changed. And again, this user points out, this is just brazenly lying.
And like we talked about earlier, every other language, Japanese to language translation, got it correct except for English, bro. It shows that the teams behind this are captured. And I think for me, too, as I think about these things, bro, and I'm like, why is it that these Western localizers feel so emboldened to do this sort of shit? Like, when you really start to get into the nitty-gritty and think about it, it's like, are there any consequences, whether it be financial penalties, so on and so forth? Because to me, all you really have to do, all these Japanese students have to do is really make an example of these people one time. Whether it be a strict financial penalty, whether it's making it clear that they'll never work in the industry again, so on and so forth, to either slow or begin to curtail this process altogether, like this bullshit altogether. I'm wondering, like, what these contracts look like. And that's something that Madam Savvy talked about. Like, do they face financial repercussions? And not just like, hey, look, fool, like, we need all the money that we paid you back. You know what I'm saying? Or, like, them being sued. Because obviously, like, litigation isn't as big in other countries as it is in the U.S. This is facts. But I'm like, there has to be something in these contracts that says, yo, bro, you're not allowed to intentionally fuck up the product. and mistranslated. But I think it's just such a foreign concept because this is supposed to be a pretty straightforward transaction. Hey, man, all right, you're a localization team, you're a translation team. Cool. Here's your script. We need it translated as good as possible into English to get it ready. They think it's supposed to be one-to-one. For them, it must be such a foreign concept. Like, yo, so these people didn't translate it. They essentially rewrote it and inserted their own political biases and gender activism into the game. Wait. They also removed anime references. They rewrote the narrative altogether. Like, how crazy must that be? Hey, bro, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go ahead and cook me a meal. I have here are the ingredients. Here's the recipe. I need you to make me chicken pasta. Cool. Here's the chicken. Here's the noodles. Here's the sauce I want you to use. Here's how it looked when I did it. Just go ahead and do that and bring it on over. And instead, you get a heaping pile of shit. What the fuck is this? And at best, a completely different dish. Hey, bro, I told you to make me chicken pasta. Why the fuck do we have cheeseburgers? like, what's going on right now?
Somehow, every other language, including the original Japanese, lacks the word fascism. And this is the side-by-side of all the translations.
And shout out to everybody in the stream, man. Happy Saturday. I hope everybody is doing well. Do me a favor if you haven't already. Make sure you like the stream so we can get the word out that we're streaming, that we're here hanging out. Subscribe to the channel if you love anime content, especially Mushka Tensei content, which we have a lot of on the way here real soon. We stream usually every Friday where we talk about current anime topics, what's been going on during the week. But obviously today we're doing it on Saturday. So welcome. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, let's continue.
The English one sticking out as completely separate for no other reason other than the select choice of the localizers responsible for it. Then you see the person defending this localization immediately doing what every one of these people do, and that is turn violent. Responding to someone pointing out the terrible localization, they say, if we had one chance to perform a fatality on this guy, referring to the person pointing out, I would do it in a heartbeat. In-game, of course. Yes, in Minecraft. So this person is...
in GTA.
is threatening someone for rightfully pointing out the mistakes in the localization. These are the type of people who are being pandered to with these localizations, by the way. This is the modern audience. These are the terminally online people who are happy with these localizations. They're not the actual gamers. They're just unhinged lunatics.
There's a manga that's similar to Farming Life in Another World called Kamagi no Kago de Saisan Kakume. The only difference, the main character is willing to have a harem. What do you think of it? Well, in Farming Life in Another World, the main character has a harem as well. Like, it's not as evident or shown as clearly in, like, season 1. But please believe, old boy's gonna end it with the harem, dog. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out too. I always love a good harem story and shit. But yeah, that's why you'll notice like the vampire chick at the end of Farming Life in the season 1, Farming Life in Another World season 1, she's preggo. You know what I mean? But he's gonna end up with the angel chick. He's gonna end up with at least one of the elf chicks. He's for sure. Obviously, he's already with the vampire girl. That's why she calls him like Anata, like that means husband, so on and so forth. Yeah, super dope. So. Kamagi no Kago de Saisan Kakume. The only difference between the main character. Yeah, definitely got to check that bad boy out. Daniel, what else are you watching this anime season, bro? Like, drop it in the chat. What else are you watching, bro?
On social media. Now, of course, we did get a good end to this. At least some good progress. You know, the war is not done, but this is a pretty decent battle that has been at least going in the favor of the right thing. So the creator of this game has come out with multiple statements, including one on Steam saying this, regarding the English localization issues and update timeline. So the creator comes out and says, this is an urgent matter. Please allow me to communicate via machine translation, which is very ironic given this entire context. But anyways, first of all, thank you very much to everyone who has purchased Yunyun Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis, added to your wish. Quality of the localization. These comments was very fast, and based on your feedback, I recognize that we have been talking about highlighting the end fascism. I will never be victimized under fascism. The ROFLMAO deserved line, among others. They also point out a very interesting one that wasn't really highlighted There's also additional ones, including I'd cut off my uterus if I could. Guys, I mean, as pointed out in the response.
Yeah, I think this may be one of, if not the worst localization of all time. And if it's not, it's fighting for the belt. It's fighting for the motherfucking belt. They're like, look, man, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I think I can serve up the biggest hot, steamy pile of boo-boo ever seen. I know there's been some good candidates. There's Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. My Time is Eno Comics, whatever's Dog. A few other big ones. I know Mushka Sensei had to have an entire light novel reprinted, but I think we can fuck this game up like a localization has never been fucked up before. What do y'all think?
This is the best localizers can do. Translating what's the equivalent of don't need it to I'd cut my uterus out if I could. Do you understand how deranged and ideologically captured these people are? And this was reflected too, by the way, in a similar Discord post made by the creators. So they share this on multiple platforms. They are on top of this stuff. But yeah, it's actually even worse than we thought. There's even more mistranslations, and they are completely and utterly unhinged. And people are also creating forums and links for people to provide further feedback for these translations, and people are.
And look, I can't like stress it enough. I can't encourage you enough. If you've played the game already and you have found any additional stuff, please use these forums, submit the feedback. This is how we help these creators. We're showing them that, the broader community is on their side. We're here to see them get after it, here to see them be successful. And also we're here to help them when it comes to dealing with the damage left over by bad actors, bro. Very important.
Filling out their responses through this form and hoping that the creator will also look at these as well in case there's stuff they're missing, because it seems like they're fixing the blatant issues, but
and shout out to them for fixing this so quickly in real time. But obviously they're tracking to the fact that things like this can really fuck up a rollout. So when you have controversy, when you have things that go bad in a rollout, in a release, so on and so forth, a lot of times fans of an IP are very, very forgiving as long as feedback is iterated on quickly, which is why they're moving so quick. I guarantee you, if it had taken them like days and days and days to get to this, the public sentiment would have shifted not just against the localization team responsible for the botched translation, but to the creators for not responding to fan feedback. But the fact that they responded to fan feedback, which is reasonable. It's not like this is irrational fan feedback that's bullshit, right? You'll see that as well. It's not like these are like crazy shippers who wanted different routes or some shit like that. They're saying like, bro, the translation script is terrible. And they're like, oh shit, this is a fundamental issue that needs to be fixed. And they saw this fundamental issue that needed to be fixed, and they worked to iterate on and correct it quickly to serve not only their current paying customers, but for the people who may be paying customers, the people who are checking the Steam reviews to see how this game is being received, see that there's an issue. Now they can go into the community section and see we have seen, heard, and iterated, aka corrected the issue. Super important.
Hey, there's probably a lot of other small issues in the localization that need to be addressed as well. So the fact that the creator is looking into this, maybe these sorts of forums will be of use towards fixing the entirety of the issue. But overall, reflecting on this situation, I agree 100% with this. We need Steam curators that check for bad translation studios on every game. We had things like Sweet Baby Inc. detected, as well as DEI detected. We need a Steam curation group for bad translation studios, for bad localizers, and to identify all of the projects they're on. Because just like Sweet Baby, they are butchering.
This is necessary. This is needed. And more importantly, the studios need to know the pool, not even like necessarily like the pool of bad talent, but hey, here's a pool of certified talent that is going to provide a good product. Because maybe you run into issues, like if you have like an official thing that shows like, hey, this person's a bad actor, you know what I'm saying? They can be like, oh, you're trying to impact me financially, whatever. But if you have a pool of like, yo, these people are certified, these people are vetted, this team is good, hey.
The products they're working on. And in this case, it is extra offensive because they're being trusted by these studios to provide faithful translations for an overseas audience. A lot of these creators of these Japanese media, they don't even know that these localizations are being butchered. They're just trusting, oftentimes, the localization team that's being pushed onto them to do the right thing. Because, of course, this is a service. These are supposed to be professionals, but that's...
Exactly. And keep in mind, too, a lot of times when a localization team is pushed onto a Japanese studio, within the localization team, if it's not just one person handling it, there's a Q&A person, aka quality assurance person, who is supposed to essentially be that final gate to making sure that, hey, this translation is faithful to the source material. But the problem is, when this entire studio is ideologically captured, there is no filter because they're in on the bullshit. They're in on it. They're like, oh, this is dope. Yeah. Oh, you could probably slide this in here. They're probably actively contributing to the vandalization of the IP. What do you do? Like, what do you do, bro? What do you do?
That's not what's happening here. And I think people should be much more aware of this. But on top of all of this, again, the AI discussion, nobody's going to feel sorry for these woke localizers when they lose their job to AI. Nobody's sitting here and thinking, as a fundamental concept, AI is going to be superior in translating Japanese media.
Look, if a solution doesn't present itself, they are going to hasten the incoming wave of AI machine translations. They're gonna have nobody to blame but themselves. I'm hoping something else comes that can reward good localizers, because I'm like, bro, you have the people who are grinding like in the fan sub community who would gladly knock out these mainstream IPs if hired professionally by these studios. You have people doing fan subs and scanlations for free for years, and they would knock it out of the park. And then you said you have these so quote unquote professionals who are supposed to be able to do it to the level of the fan sub people, and they can't even do that, bro. I really would like, bro, something's got to change. There needs to be something that happens as far as a way for transparency, accountability, quality assurance, right, and rewarding good translators. Otherwise, it's gonna be AI with maybe one or two QA people, and a gang of people are gonna be out of jobs. And the problem is, as well, is that within the localization community, in my opinion, the people who are quietly there doing good work don't speak out against the people doing the bad work and giving them all a bad name. It's like, bro, you need to speak and acknowledge this, dog. Y'all need to start holding each other accountable. Otherwise, what's going to happen is it looks like many Western localizers are, if not actively participating in vandalizing works, are complicit in it. They don't mind if it happens. That's how it starts to look. Are all of you guys in on it, or do you all not really give a fuck? You know what I mean?
No. But the difference is, with AI, at least you're not going to get intentional mistranslations. You're not going to get intentional shoehorns of political beliefs or bad jokes or stuff like that. At least you're going to get something that is raw, even if it's flawed. So nobody feels sorry for these woke localizers who time and time again abuse their trusted position to basically spread whatever ideology they're captured by at the moment.
There's a new anime called The Warrior Princess and the Barbarian King. It came out a couple days ago. It's both English and Japanese. It's up to you when you want to see it. Yeah, that's actually been on my list, bro. It's actually on my list. There's a couple cool, like, romance-coded ones like that. Marriage Toxin for one. The Warrior Princess and the Barbarian King is another one. Gal Can't Be Kind to Otaku is another one I've been peeping. A few other ones like that. Okay, that's cool. That seems good, bro. Yeah, I'll be checking that out. So I was letting a couple episodes build up. I'll probably check it out tonight or tomorrow.
Nobody feels sorry if they lose their jobs to AI. But overall, that is the situation involving this game. The latest victim of these...
The latest victim. Shout out to Rev. If you haven't already, great resource, great dude. He usually covers a lot of, like, it's more of a, I call him more of a drama tuber. He covers, like, a lot of, like, streamer drama and shit, but he's always up on, like, localization stuff, things of that sort. So worth the follow. Check him out. Check his video out. Dope dude. I like it, bro. I like it. Cool. So what we're going to do, guys, we're going to take a brief break real quick. And then we're going to continue on with reacting to a few more videos. And then obviously we're going to fucking finish it up with some good anime talk. So I appreciate you guys being here, man. Once again, if you haven't already, make sure you like the stream, get the word out that we're here hanging out, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I cannot stress it enough. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will be right back. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna move on here, and we're gonna get Hero Hayes' take on the situation as well before we jump into a Monte Sensei video and some other good stuff. So let's see what Hero Hayes had to say. Once again, another great resource when it comes to overall comings and goings, the anime industry, so on and so forth. Once again, if you haven't already, welcome to the stream. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for me, man. We're doing good things over here. If you love anime content, Mushka Tensei, Isekai Seinen in particular, this is the place for you. Let's get it.
Today we have news of yet another corrupt English localization. A localization so bad that they completely butchered this game's dialogue. And within 24 hours of this being brought to the attention of the developer has issued a statement and has already begun hotfixing out the localization. The game is Yunyun Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis, a rhythm adventure game about a psychotic hikikomori girl.
I have to say too, I really fuck with like the aesthetic of the fucking game, like the way it looks, the visuals, the art style, the direction looks super fire. Like I said, I'm usually not one for like rhythm style games, but I might give this one a peep.
Also an avid anonymous poster who corrupts the world with her severe brain rot from listening to too many Denpa songs. Released only a few days ago on April 23rd. And the release has been going pretty well for this game. It's got a cute art style, very positive reviews on Steam, but then as mentioned, people as they played the game noticed something very off about the localization. For example, the localizers going full Reddit mod, interjecting a bunch of rhetoric about fascism, which we can see in this example got changed in the recent hotfix by the developer. The fix changing the dialogue to, their command spells ain't got nothing on me. But the localizers had a different vision. They actually...
A different vision, indeed. My God. They saw this, and like I said, they took it behind the shed to say, look, big boy, I likes you, and I wants you. And we're going to do some things to you here. We're gonna do some things to you.
Had that line altered from Japanese to English originally as, I will never be victimized under fascism again. Other examples like the English localization saying in fascism before the developer stepped in to change that to somebody stop this. Pretty crazy how the English localizers really tried to interject all this rhetoric about stopping fascism when the original context had nothing to do with any of that. 24 hours ago on Our Visual Novels, a top post for the day reading Yunyun Syndrome, Rhythm Psychosis, this game has the worst JP to English localization I've ever seen. While this game isn't a strict visual novel, it's more of a mix-up between interactive VN and rhythm game. I would like to mention it here considering how people enjoy discussing localization in recent VN games, with enjoy in quotes. Adding genuinely, if you're somewhat knowledgeable about the Japanese language or have played a fair share of visual novels and recognize more or less how lines should translate into English, I beg you to play the free demo on Steam and see for yourself. For example, the localizers changing Irene, which should simply translate to I don't need it. Well, they instead changed it to, I'd cut my uterus out if I CLD.
Once again, bro. Good. Oh, my goodness.
Could. Yeah, pretty weird stuff. And it's full of stuff like that. A machine translation would do a better job than this. It's borderline unreadable, which is insane considering how heavily anime/VN culture is referenced in this game. Most references are gone in English, more information about that coming up, as if the person translating it had no knowledge about what it's even referencing, so they decided to just delete it or change it. Then
yeah, I don't understand what this is, or I don't like what this is. Who knows? But one is obviously a little bit more insidious than the other. So like, I'm just gonna take it out. What the fuck are you doing, bro? What the fuck is going on right now, bro?
there's stuff like Yamero changed to in fascism, and the example that I read a moment ago of I won't bind you with a command spell being changed into I will never be victimized under fascism again. The user is saying ridiculous. And of course, as we also went over, some of this has already been getting fixed with hotfixes. Users going on to notice that the only localization that seems to be butchered is the English one, unsurprisingly, saying stuff like, oh yeah, by the way, from what I've seen, it's only the English localization that's messed up. So if you speak any other languages, you might get a non-terrible localization here. Looking at the different languages, character Q-chan is called that in every language, including Japanese, of course, except for English, where she's QTIE, like Q-tie or QT.
Yeah, bro, so once again, removing Japanese language, and they seem to do this a lot. Like you'll see this in other anime series as well, where it'll be like Yamaguchi-san, right? And they'll be like Yamaguchi, or something stupid. And I'll be like, there was one that was like Shardy-kun. They'd be like, I'll be like Shard-kun. Oh, they call him Shardy. They give him a stupid ass nickname rather than just sticking to the original Japanese context, which would work in this situation. No respect for the source material, and frankly, no respect for the Japanese language either. which is odd because you're a person who obviously took the time to learn Japanese, right? You would think you have a certain enjoyment of, respect for, and overall like of the language. How much of Japanese culture do they really enjoy? Do they really fuck with Japanese culture at all? Or do they really and honestly deep down have a disdain for not only Japanese culture, but Japanese creators who they feel like are not up to stuff when it comes to their purity tests, right? Who aren't in alignment with their activism, right? That's what I think, to me, when I think about these things, that's what's really going on, is these people are deeply narcissistic, and more importantly, they ultimately think that they're better than the people that they're being hired by to do a job for. And when you think very little of the entities or the creators that you're hired to work for, why wouldn't you step all over their work? You're like, I don't give a fuck about you anyway. I think you're a piece of shit anyway. So why wouldn't I fuck with your work intentionally at any given opportunity? I have no respect for you.
For some reason. So it seems like all the other translations were done from Japanese instead of English, thankfully. I've played a bit with the Polish localization and it seems fairly accurate, at least according to my rudimentary Japanese knowledge. Seems it really is only English that's really bad. This game seems to have become one of the most blatant examples of why so many Western localizers have been getting so much hate and criticism now. Localizers have been doing stuff like this for years and getting a lot of criticism for doing stuff like this for years, but I am glad that more people are becoming aware of it, although of course the circumstances are unfortunate, as of course it means that these localization companies continually take advantage of overseas developers, overseas mangakas, and other overseas artists, taking their money under the false pretense that the localizers are going to help them. But instead they butcher the intellectual property. There's really a strong argument to be made that these localizers are just con artists, or to use a term that they love, they're grifters.
Hardcore grifting, baby. I'm going to take your money. I'm going to fuck up your project. By the time you catch it, it'll be too late, or you're going to have to face it on the back end, but I'm on to the next one. I'm on to the next IP, and I've done my job. I've spread the good message. I've fought the good fight, right?
One user even created an entire Google Doc showcasing how terrible the localization is with almost 1,000 entries, with examples such as the Japanese context reading,
Bro, think about that. Over 1,000 lines of dialogue and context intentionally butchered and changed to serve at the altar of gender and and identity politics ideology. Come on, man. Can't we just be fans? What are we doing here? And these are the same people who would swear up and down that they're fans. They love Japanese culture. They love anime, manga, visual novels, light novels, so on and so forth. They're not tourists. No. Then why would you work to change over 1,000 lines of dialogue? Think about that for a second, bro. Come on.
that's irrelevant, but the English localization changing that to necessary evil D's nuts, really? I mean, how cringe is this? What's wrong with these people? You can see the other localizations, though, for example, Korean, Spanish, French, German, etc., saying things like, I don't care, you're not my problem, nothing to do with it, does not interest me, right? So completely different from the English localization done by these massively out-of-touch people. And would you look at that, the document also includes information about the localization team coming from a localization company named Dragon Baby. Rings some bells, doesn't it, huh? What's with these localization companies and DI consultation firms and babies? You got Sweet Baby Inc., you got Ghost Baby, now you got Dragon Baby. All of them highly corrupt and politically brain-rotted. And the reason these weirdo localizers get involved in the anime and gaming industries, despite their massive hate of anime fans and gamers, is 1, they have financial incentive because they've become massively profitable industries, and 2, because these losers have their entire lives dictated by their own political brain rot. And they hate how they've constantly failed to sway anime fans and gamers to their political side.
That is my point exactly. They have the mind virus, and their efforts to organically on the front end change people's opinions and sway them to their way of thinking has failed. Both when it comes to studios and Japanese creators, but more importantly when it comes to fans on our side of the aisle, Western fans of Japanese anime, manga, games, so on and so forth, because they're neglecting the integral point. The reason why people are drawn to these Eastern forms of entertainment is because it lacks all of that ideology that is so prevalent in Western works. And it's more like, bro, it's more like they're like, oh, you guys think you're going to go over here and get away from what we want? No. We're going to do our best to infiltrate and bring it over there, too. You're not going to get away from this message until you either think the way we want you to think or until you have no spaces left. Interesting to think about, man.
Especially because they have so many rich and powerful organizations and institutions that prop up their rhetoric. So they get very frustrated that despite that, the anime and gaming communities tend to always push back against their rhetoric and they don't fall for their political propaganda. And what frustrates them and angers them even more is that more and more young people are moving in the opposite direction. So then these sort of people get increasingly desperate because, again, their only real goal in life is to push their politics onto others and to get paid while they do it.
Bro, they're losing and they know that they're losing. The anime and manga community, and what I love about our community, bro, what I fucking love about our community is the fact that I feel like, and you can see the proof is in the pudding, we are, as a collective, really starting to actively work against and fight against this sort of bullshit, bro. Especially those of us who are kind of really tapped into like the broader spectrum of pop culture and entertainment culture and seeing what has happened on the Western side of the ball with Western entertainment. And we're like, yo, we're not going to let that happen to our shit. You feel me? Like, you guys destroyed Western comics, destroyed Western cartoons, destroyed Western movies, IPs, some of the largest IPs, Star Wars, like I've said before, a whole bunch of other ones. You guys have fucked those off. Now you're looking at anime and manga because it's growing on such a global scale and this audience is growing at such an incredible clip. This is the next big, and now this is having an influence. This is what people are turning to for values, for entertainment, for motivation, for inspiration, so on and so forth. They're like, this is the next big thing. It's already here. It's mainstream now. And they can't control it the way they want to, and they will do anything and everything in their power. But once again, I'm so proud of our community, bro, because we're standing up and saying, what the fuck is this? No. And that signals to the Japanese creator, A, there is a divide there, and we need to beware. And B, let's make sure that our products are coming to market intact. So now they'll be aware of the bad actors as we continue to raise the alarm, and that'll ensure that our hobby survives. Because make no mistake, if we allow these bad actors and these infiltrators, bro, to change and warp the product at the source level, anime and manga will die, bro. It'll go the way of the dodo. It'll drop to irrelevance the same way these other IPs and forms of entertainment have. We can't allow that to happen, bro. This is the thing that we love. This is our thing. And we can't let people who ultimately don't give a fuck about it. Here's the thing. For these localizers and these tourists, if anime and manga were to die tomorrow, they would be largely unaffected. They would just move on to the next thing that's popular because they're not real fans. But us, we'd be devastated. Imagine if things slow down, right? And we're no longer getting series after being on such an upward trajectory as far as the amount of work that we're getting now. And mind you, I've been a fan for anime and manga for decades at this point. I remember when you didn't get this many series in a season, bro, it wasn't so big. And I wouldn't mind necessarily if it kind of went back to being less mainstream. The fact that we're getting things greenlit at such a rapid clip and we get to eat so good, it's like being at a buffet, bro. I would hate for shit like this to be the reason why that well ran dry. That would be awful, bro. So we have to protect our hobby. We have to get in there, bro, and be willing to make sure that our voices are heard, always respectfully, but make sure that they know, hey, and it's like, don't go out there attacking people, so on and so forth. Don't do that shit. But just speak to the creators, to the studios. Hey, this isn't in line. Your product is being vandalized. Fix it. Fix it quickly.
As we saw in the document, two of the higher-ranking members at this localization company, Dragon Baby, that's responsible for this mess with Yunyun Syndrome, are one Sam Burton and one Jeremy Blaustein. We can see over on the Blue Sky account for Dragon Baby Localization that Sam Burton and Jeremy Blaustein are the first two people that they actually follow on the account. With more information on their accounts, Jeremy Blaustein, pictured on the left, and Sam Burton there on the right, Jeremy Blaustein's bio reading Venerable Dragon of Dragon Baby, and Sam Burton's bio reading The Dragon of Dragon Baby, he/him. Irredeemable vampire simp planning to usurp the localization world with a golden heart and silver tongue. We already know how dishonest these people are, but it gets even worse. Let's quickly take a look at Jeremy Blaustein here. Interesting fella. Apparently worked as a localizer even during the mid to late 90s for Konami. According to Wikipedia, he's the brother of the late
And Konami was the company that Hideo Kojima was a part of. Remember how we mentioned that earlier in the stream? He had worked with Hideo Kojima, who had nothing good to say about him. That was at Konami.
Patty Blaustein, who the entry writes was known for being the VA of Meowth and for being the first intersex and transgender VA for many agencies. Going back to Jeremy Blaustein, yeah, you can see that indeed throughout the 90s and 2000s, he had worked on some very popular, very successful games. But then for whatever reason, it looks like his work with Japanese companies really dried up after the early 2000s. One potential explanation for the massive gap in his resume is that Japanese creatives didn't like the guy. They didn't like him and didn't like the localization work that he was doing. For example, in an interview posted by Arcade Attack.
Let's see what he say here. So I first started in the industry with the U.S. division of a now defunct Japanese game company called Jaleco around 1990. I had studied Japanese in college and was hired by them as an associate producer. My time with them was very short, though, as a result of learning my first lesson in Japanese company, namely never argue with your boss. I was fired after about 3 months for insubordination, which he laughs at. I didn't work in the industry again until I went to work for Konami in Tokyo in 1993, but before I left, I got Jaleco to hire my twin brother Michael. More on that later.
Blaustein said he was fired from Japanese company Jaleco for quote-unquote insubordination. Hideo Kojima himself apparently also personally disliked Blaustein. We can see in a different interview posted by Den of Geek that Kojima apparently thought Blaustein went too far with his creative liberties. And some say Kojima himself even had a hand in getting Blaustein fired from working on Metal Gear. Fast forward about 20 years, now we're in the 2020s.
Interesting. So let's read this. Take a closer look at this. So Blaustein's approach led to him using words like codec and phrases like OSP, on-site procurement, which weren't in the script but became part of the MGS franchise nonetheless. Blaustein understands that this process will no doubt be considered incorrect by some who believe that he should have just translated the original script as closely as possible and made alterations only when strictly necessary. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do, bro. You mean people who feel that he should have just done his fucking job? Yes. Apparently, Hideo Kojima was one of the people who thought that Blaustein went too far. While Blaustein admits that he only heard from others about Kojima's reaction and neither Konami or Kojima comment on the piece, his impression was that Kojima's frustration resulted in his future insistence that the localized versions of his scripts stick to the original writing as much as possible. This certainly seems to be part of the reason why MGS games and their dialogue became a little more weird after the first title. In fact, you can hear a more accurate translation of the MGS original script in the GameCube's Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, and the difference really is quite drastic. So look at that. Look at that. This dude was inserting his own personal preferences into the game to the point where if you look at a version of this original game that he did and the one that they essentially remade and remastered later on, they're drastically different. That shouldn't happen, bro. That's not being a professional localizer. That is attempting to vandalize a piece. You are not Hideo Kojima. The name is not Metal Gear Solid by Jeremy Blaustein. It's Metal Gear Solid by Hideo Kojima. So why are you altering the voice, the script, so on and so forth, of the original creator? That's not what you're hired to do. You're hired to translate, not rewrite, bro. You're hired to translate, not insert your own narrative, bro. Yeah.
And he's returned with this localization company, Dragon Baby. Over on Dragon Baby's website, we can see that they're actually taking credit for working on a number of iconic Japanese games. For example, the aforementioned Metal Gear. However, as we know, that's not really true. Dragon Baby didn't work on Metal Gear. Blaustein did on his own. And now it really looks like Dragon Baby is trying to mislead overseas creatives with their deceptive list of credits. Which takes us back to the official statement from the developer of Yunyun Syndrome addressing all of these issues. The developer...
There are 3 other animes I'd like to get isekai'd into, from Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman and Mac and Key, Trapped in a Dating Sim. What do you all think? Yeah, from Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman, that would be a dope one. Mac and Key obviously would be cool. If I had to pick another one to get isekai'd into, let me think, Mike. Let me think. Bro, this requires some thought. Like I said, Tenchi Muyo is my number 1. What's another universe I wouldn't mind being into? Maybe something, some more space-related shit, some other fantasy-related shit. You know, Mushka Tensei World would be pretty cool. I actually wouldn't mind going to the Mushka Tensei World. That would be pretty dope. Yeah, bro, I like a lot of like dark fantasy and Satan and shit, and a lot of times like those wouldn't be like the most pleasant places to live. I ain't gonna hold you. This requires some thought.
Going on to thank players and to thank everyone for bringing the localization issues to their attention. Going on to further say that they're going to take a longer look at all their vision and creator, and that from the very could have ever seen these changes and been size it, and wondering how the heck the dev could have ever seen these changes and been fine with them.
Exactly.
However, others have said that sort of phrasing is really just a Japanese formality.
Yeah, so you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because it's like,
Now I
yeah,
can
bro, it's like people were asking, like, okay, so because in that official statement, they're saying like, hey, like we worked very closely with the English localization team from the start. So people were like, obviously the logical follow up to that is, then all right, cool, bro. Well, if you were working with them closely from the start, how did you miss all this fucking bullshit? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's see. And so that led to that like dearth of negative comments. But now you see people saying, hey, you can't trust your localization team. They were lying to you from the beginning, and they will lie to you again regarding the complaints. Discussing anything with them will just give them more opportunities to lie to you. Because obviously he's saying like, hey, we're going to go back and ask them what the fuck happened. You feel me? You need to fire the entire team and start fresh with a brand new team. Do not accept any recommendations from the current team, and do not accept any recommendations from people who recommended that team in the first place. That's facts. That's honestly the best way to go about it. When this sort of thing happens, you can essentially like try to ask them what happened, but when it's such intentional mistranslation, there's really, in my opinion, no other path but to part ways. But like, yeah, you can tell us what happened. I mean, it's not going to make a difference. We're still going to part ways with you, but like, at least try to help us understand why this went out the way that it did. But yeah, because if they're willing to do this, you can't trust them. They're unprofessional. And why would they not lie to you? If they lied to you about the product that they put out, why would they not lie to you about what happened? You know what I mean? They've proven that they can't be trusted in any sort of professional capacity. This is a fact.
Tell you that I've seen Japanese creatives make similar statements in the past, that they've worked closely with the very people who are taking advantage of them and ruining their intellectual property. So perhaps it really is just a formal, polite thing. However, I don't know enough about Japanese culture to definitively come to a conclusion about that. Nevertheless, as you also saw, players are recommending that the dev never work with Dragon Baby again, which is a very reasonable and wise suggestion. Dragon Baby localizers clearly don't care about the devs and all of the Japanese artists that worked on this game. They were willing to tarnish all of their work to force in their own political worldviews. Furthermore, players are also...
They will burn your IP to the ground. They will sacrifice it on the altar of gender, political ideology. They don't give a fuck about your IP. They don't give a fuck that they were hired to do a job. They don't give a fuck if it's not professional, because for them, the mission and the message overrules all. One message to rule them all. One ideology to rule them all. One mind virus to rule them all. And all they care about is spreading it. They don't care what they have to do, and they don't care if they leave a gang of IP corpses in their wake. They don't give a fuck.
Pointing out that the issue isn't just a few examples, but the entire English localization itself, the entire thing needs to be redone.
Remember, like we saw in the other video, there was over 1,000 lines of dialogue that were altered in an inappropriate manner. So yeah, that's like, bro, 1,000 lines of dialogue. I can't imagine that Yunyun Syndrome is that long of a game. So if over 1,000 lines were altered, bro, that might be a large portion of the game, if not the majority of it.
And it's a very sad situation, because you can only imagine how extremely stressful this must be for the devs who just released their game a few days ago. Now they see that their entire English release has been botched, and now the entire thing needs to be remedied. That, of course, will take time and money. And it's unlikely that Dragon Baby will refund 100% of the money that they were paid for this horrible work, unless there's some sort of civil action taken against them. We can only hope that everything will work out for these hardworking developers and artists, and that more overseas creatives become aware of how commonplace corruption in the English localization industry is, so they can avoid these sort of disasters in the future. There is a bright side to all of this, though. As I briefly mentioned in the middle of the video, it's good that more people around the world are becoming aware of these issues. And this specific situation with Yunyun Syndrome will now be a great example that people can cite as evidence for how corrupt the English localization is.
Bro, this is going to be what people look to and reference whenever having this conversation moving forward, bro. Because it was such an egregious example. They went so far off the deep end fucking this one up that this will be like this will be like the prototype case. This will be fucking ground zero. And how do you defend this? Oh, well, the line is out of context. Yeah, but they rewrote the entire context. Over 1,000 lines of dialogue were improperly localized. How do you defend this? Other than ideologically, because you can't defend it. You can't defend it professionally. You can't do that. You can't do it that way. This will become ground zero. This will become the ultimate test case, the ultimate use case, whatever you want to call it, for improper English localization, vandalization, and disruption of Japanese creators' work and vision, and ultimately a big reference point for why many Western localizers cannot be trusted. Point blank simple. Great video by Hero Hey, man. Once again, give the video a like, give it a follow, give him a follow. Go ahead and check it out as well. He's always doing a great job covering this sort of thing, man. Cool. So now we're gonna transition into another great video by our man Monte Sensei. We've reacted to a few videos on this channel from him. He always has some great perspective on just the anime industry in general, and he was touching on some really great points in this video, some of which directly tie in to the localization drama. And then we'll watch a 52 video for some good old ball knowledge, and then we'll call it, man. Let's see what's going on.
Every so often, there's a classic or current piece of artistic property that catches the attention of the IOF, identity-obsessed fan, where they don't see it as something to be entertained by, but as a tool to be used to fuel their own selfish personal desires. What is an IOF? Well, I give a full breakdown in this video here, but to be brief, it's someone only concerned with the identity or representation of a character, rather than the character or story itself. For example, the Baldur's Gate 3 actress wants Nintendo to canonize popular fan theory that Samus is a badass trans bounty hunter, or a journalist trying to present the story of Frankenstein as a queer story in 2025, or when fake fans got upset that Marvel Rivals lacked queer couples in a season centered around love. To the IOF, lore doesn't matter. Respect for the history of a franchise and character be damned.
All that matters is the message. All that matters is their personal ideology and the personal identity, the way they see themselves. And if they can't, then the work needs to be altered or destroyed. Point blank simple.
All that matters to them is how they can hijack, co-opt a character or story to force their headcanon and ideology into it. Because as I always say, activists don't curate, they only infiltrate. And the latest anime to be a target for these types is Marriage Toxin, airing this current season. One I'm really enjoying so far, about a guy named Giro who specializes in creating poisonous toxins to carry out hitman jobs, where him and his sister come from a famous family or clan who needs one of them to get married.
Marriage Toxin has been fucking dope. If you're not watching it already, please check it out. Please check it out. It has been A1.
So they can continue the legacy of their family. And to prevent his sister from feeling forced to do so, he volunteers himself instead. Problem is, he's very socially awkward, unable to form any type of relationship with women without coming off as a creep or complete weirdo.
Hey, bro. Do your thing, bro. It starts with effort. It starts with effort. Facts, bro. You'll get it, my nigga. You'll get it.
So during one of his assassination jobs, his target is someone who's an expert in conning people into marriage, a marriage swindler. And seeing how his target is an expert in matchmaking, he decides not to kill her, but instead hire her to set him up with a compatible woman for him to marry. The big twist is that she's not actually a she, but a man.
It's a man, baby!
A man, baby. A man.
私男だし。
Marriage Toxin, I'm really having a good time watching. There's a certain charm to it where Giro is sort of like an idiot savant. He's extremely competent in this one field of his profession, acting with the utmost confidence and calmness where his experience.
Let's talk about the aesthetic of the series too. Like, bro, I love the artwork and the art direction. The art direction in general, the animation is great, bro, and it has just a super dope aesthetic. In some ways, for me, when I'm watching it, it almost feels like more of a mid-2000s anime with how it's presented, and that's like an aesthetic I really fuck with, bro. Super well done. Voice acting is A1. Obviously, for me, I watch it in subbed. I'm not really a dub guy, but yeah, it's a really well done video. Actually, I've been wanting to check out the manga too. Let's go. Marriage Toxin. I want to get some more information about the mangaka real quick. It's made by Mizuki Yoda. It's been the Shonen Jump since 2022. Oh, okay. So I can actually start reading the manga here, bro. Would this be considered a shonen or is it a seinen? Hold on, let's click into this bitch. It wasn't Shonen Jump, obviously. Duh. But it's interesting too because even though it's in Shonen Jump, sometimes I feel like it leans a little bit more seinen coded, which is dope. But okay. And then Music Yoda. Let's see what we can find out about the mangaka. Boom. Okay. Active since 2015. Social media. Wait, is this how? Oh, so this is the official wiki for the story. Got you. Graduated from Tokyo Designer Gakuen Manga Department at the age of 19. They received the honorable mention. Okay, so this motherfucker been busting for a minute. Shout out to him, man. Shout out to him. All right, let's keep going.
In said field is clearly shown, which makes it funny that when it comes to interacting with a woman, even in the slightest, it's the complete opposite. His whole demeanor changes where he's completely helpless, jittery, flustered, and a nervous wreck like the ability to communicate with a woman is alien to him.
Like, imagine this, bro. You're able to handle yourself in the most high-profile, high-pressure situations, whether it be murder, combat, fighting for your life, man. Assassination is no problem. But it's like, yo, bro, talking to a chick, I'm struggling. And how many people, like, really deal with that, right? Like, all of us to a certain extent at certain points of our lives, right? We're like, you're comfortable with what you're comfortable with where you feel like you have a degree of expertise in. But it can be something as simple as relationships or talking to pretty girl or pretty guy, you know, depending on who you are, which aisle you fall in and whatnot. And that can seem like the most insurmountable wall. You're like, fuck, dude. The same way, like, you'll know people who are incredibly confident, well-spoken, and articulate in real life or when they're dealing with you. But, like, yeah, maybe getting on the stage or having to, like, speak publicly. Public speaking, they say, like, public speaking is the number one fear for many, many people. Their number one fear is public speaking. And it's one of them things. And, like, that's why you talk about, like, for example, like, you could be out and about. Maybe you might see someone that you find attractive. You'd love to chop it up with them. You'd love to get to know them. And the cold approach is just the most frightening thing ever, right? And so, and you lock up, and where you're normally lights out in conversation, you might have the jokes on go. You know, you're quick-witted. You got the banter with the homies or whatever it may be, but let you get with a shorty that you think is pretty, and you're like, fuck, bro. I am eating my fucking words. Super relatable, bro.
I love the action scenes where the animation beautifully enhances them. The personality contrast between Kinosaki, his new mentor, and him keeps things fresh and funny. Like, while fighting through various enemies, they practice introduction pickup lines, which I'm sure a lot of guys we can relate to.
ないわ。これが本番だったら死んでたよ。婚活の基本は相手の気持ちをとことん考え抜くこと。だから婚活のこと。
Very kinetic and fluid action, bro. Fucking with it, bro. Let me see. So there's this Korean manga that's similar to Remonster, and it's called From Goblin to Goblin God, and it's awesome. Check it out when you're able to. For sure, bro. Hey, Dad, you always be having the dope recommendations, man, so I'm definitely going to have to check that bad boy out. Facts.
Something I remember doing when getting a girl's number in high school, practicing the whole conversation in my head before talking on the phone. Also, real quick, this scene could be a Matrix reference, but I could be wrong.
I think 100% that's a Matrix reference. Dead on. Dead ringer.
It's funny, and I like seeing them both on screen. As Kinosaki is determined to find the perfect woman for Giro, you find yourself rooting for him when he's finally able to have a natural conversation with a woman, surprisingly charming her in his own unique way, making her blush. There's characters that specialize in unique abilities different from his own. You have the girl who can seemingly communicate with sharks and ride them, somebody who's able to manipulate water and weaponize it. The soundtrack really fits the pacing of the scenes, while at times having a dramatic ambient feel to it.
顔も知らねえ文家のやつと引き合わされて無理やりくっつけられそうになった。
I'm really having fun watching this, but I could already foresee the iOS coming out in droves to do the usual, dictate how someone else's art, stories, characters should be conducted or labeled.
Yeah, especially too, the more popular that a series gets, the more eyes that are on it from like people who have the mind virus, bro. Because they're seeing like, oh, this is popular. It's what? It's a suitable vehicle for the message, right? And so it becomes, well, okay, yeah, this is popular. So why doesn't it have these things? Why doesn't it have X, Y, Z, A, B, C, blah, 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 blah? And it becomes a lightning rod for manufactured controversy for perceived lack of diversity, representation, or whatever the fuck else they want to call it, right? Tourist bullshit.
Because to them, politics, ideology comes first, and entertainment, fun comes second, if at all. And respect for said creator comes never. Even with this example of a localizer clearly demonstrating my point, injecting their personal politics, butchering the dub compared to the sub, rather than honoring the...
And look at that, see? Dub, localization, butchered and changed. Yeah, so there's that line where the dude says, like, yeah, I'm a guy. Changing the language. Had to leave it ambiguous. He'll touch on this more in this video.
author's work.
And then rescue Himikawa from these greedy, thieving, capitalist pig busters!
Bro, nowhere references capitalist pig monsters, none of that. It just said, hey, we need to rescue Himikawa. Come on, bro.
For them, headcanon and personal preferences trumps whatever the creator intended. Even said here with this user. Anime has this annoying issue where they will have a character who is a transgender woman and how they act, present, and move through the world, but they are...
Tell me you're a tourist without telling me you're a tourist. He's like, he looks and dresses like a woman, so he must be trans. Thanks for letting me know, bro. You've never seriously watched anime a day in your life. You see this all the fucking time. Cross-dressing is a super common trope in Japanese media, anime, manga, whatever. And the thing is, cross-dressers always fully acknowledge the gender that they are. They are a male who cross-dresses as a woman or a woman who cross-dresses as a man. And there's never any confusion there. And this has been a decades long trope in anime and manga. The fact that this person doesn't understand that lets you know that they're not a real fan. They're a fucking tourist, bro. Otherwise, you would fucking know this already, dog.
Still called a cross-dresser or a femboy, feminine man, which is exactly why I don't blame Japanese creators becoming fed up with Western quote-unquote fans. The entitlement of pushing personal ideology onto someone else's art rather than acknowledge cultural differences, while these types always screech cultural appropriation. And I think the frustration from Japanese fans is summed up in this response from a Japanese user. I don't want to become a woman. I want to be a cute version of myself. Never a woman, but a man. Foolish people who jump to calling it trans on their own recognize the wonderful existence of Oto Konoko. And even when the creator confirms he's a man in dialogue, that he only cross-dresses depending on the con job he's engaged in to fool his target,
なんで女装してんだよ。
直近のカモが男性だったから女性をかもるときは男装するよ
the IOF will turn a blind eye to that, because to the IOF, reality is a nuisance, confirmation from
the truth doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the creator says. It doesn't matter what the reality of the situation is. The only thing that matters is how I feel and what I think should be going on. Pure and simple, bro. And it's, and it's funny, bro, because we could talk about it till we're blue in the face, right? But it's the same rinse and repeat bullshit over and over and over and over again. And it does get a bit exhausting at times, bro. It does get a bit exhausting at times. But these people don't get tired, bro. They keep going. So as much as it happens, we got to keep talking about it. We got to keep bringing attention to it. We got to keep sending the right signals to these creators and these studios to let them know that we're paying attention. That's how you protect your hobby in a respectful manner, right?
creator is a false truth. Lore, actual canon, is all a hindrance that just gets in the way of their own validation and affirmations. Because as I watch Marriage Toxin, I'm just having a good time following these characters through the story. But the IOF only looks to be affirmed every second of the way, and the said creator doesn't do.
Bro, that was an interesting point that he just made as well. Imagine not being able to enjoy a piece of media because it doesn't have like a form of representation or identity politics in it that you are viewed as so core to your entire personality, to your entire persona. Imagine not being able to simply sit down and watch a show with good animation, a good story, likable characters, because it doesn't have the political ideology jumping off of the page that you ascribe to. Imagine being so captured by the mind virus that you can't truly enjoy any piece of entertainment that doesn't have this activism preaching to you 24/7. Imagine needing that to enjoy a piece of media. Bro, that's a sad way to live, bro. Like, do you not want to escape? Does every piece of media that you consume need to have political or gender or whatever ideology screaming at you from the rafters? Do you not want to escape a little bit? Like, bro, if you want this sort of bullshit, bro, just turn on the news or go on Twitter. Anime might not be, or read a Western comic. I don't know, bro. Read Invincible or something. Like, you know what the fuck, bro? Like, there's plenty of other shit that already does this. Why does the anime and manga need to have it as well? Crazy.
Do that on command, these fake fans turn into the nastiest people, like they become possessed or something. Which is something the author of I Want the Losing Heroine to Win recently expressed her frustration with the shippers in this statement. People who read for free on pirate sites think they have control over the story. I get a lot of demands like, if you don't pair X with X, you're not a real writer. I'm thrilled to have fans overseas, that's soon to change, but for how loud they are despite reading.
Bro, that is a fucking factor. We're seeing that a lot with the crossover of a lifetime that we're experiencing between Japanese and Western Twitter. And now these Japanese mangaka are seeing just how insane a large segment of these fucking ideologically captured Western quote unquote fans are. They're starting to get to the point like, fuck you fools, bro. Like you're seeing that a lot with like Kei Urana, for example. She's my case in point. I fuck with her, the mangaka behind Gacha Yakuda. She's a real one, fool. And she be serving these fools on Twitter. They be like, oh, you need to do this. You need to change this. She's like, eat a dick. I'm not doing any of that. And just like this person seems to be just as base. You feel me? People who read for free on foreign pirate sites think they have control over the story. Imagine saying that's something like that to a manga. If you don't pair this person with this person, you're not a real writer. Says the person who's never written anything in their lives. What the fuck are we doing right now? But once again, that's why it's important to make sure that they know this is a small subsect of fucking weirdos and they don't speak for us, bro. Keep doing what you're doing. Mangaka, we're rocking with what you do. We can't be a silent majority, y'all. You have to keep that in mind. We have to be a vocal majority. Period.
For free, I'd really appreciate it if they just drop some cash first.
That's the way you do it. That's the way you debate.
And as I always say, the IOF feels more entitled to your story than you yourself. And it doesn't help that many platforms in charge of handling anime licensing and distribution are ran by the IOFs, like Crunchyroll. Rarely ever seen.
Mushka Tensei is interesting. The story is great, but I wish there were better decisions on relationship-wise harem. Relationship-wise harems are great, but incest not so much. But the action and magic are awesome. Hey, man, nah, I feel you. Like, not everything's for everybody, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like, I feel like when it comes to series, there are always going to be probably aspects of a show that you don't particularly care for, right? And so it becomes up to you whether that's enough for you to, like, continue on with the story. Like you're saying, you're like, hey, like I don't like some of the incest aspects of it. Cool, but I like it overall for sure. Or it might be like, you know, that might be a deal breaker. You feel me? Like we talked about another stream. Like I'm not the biggest fan of Eminence and Shadow. I don't really care for Sid as a main character. The difference is I don't trash Eminence and Shadow online. I'm just like, this wasn't really for me. I might try to check it out later. You feel me? But just like you're saying here, you're like, yeah, I'm not really liking some of that shit, but overall the show, the action and the magic are awesome. So obviously it seems like that hasn't been enough to deter you from watching it, which definitely check out my Mushka Tensei content on the channel. And if you are a Mushka Tensei Seinen and Isekai lover, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for the content that we have coming. But yeah, man, for me, it just always comes down to like respectful discourse, bro. And for me, I'm like, if I'm not enjoying an aspect of a show, I either choose whether or not it's enough of a deterrent for me to no longer continue on with the series, or if I don't mind it all that much and I can continue. That's what it is at the end of the day. But the issue is a lot of these people, if they don't like something, not only do they not want to engage with it, it's funny because they never dislike it enough to not engage with the content. It's like, it's very performative in a way. They're like, oh, I don't like this. I need you to know I don't like this. I need to virtue signal to my friends so they know that we don't like I don't like it and they don't like it. So like I'm accepted on my side of the aisle. And then, yeah, I don't want you to like it either. And I don't feel like it should exist. So I'm just going to be a weird, fucking annoying piece of shit and go on and on and on and on. Not realizing that, bro, nobody gives a fuck about your opinions. Not saying you, Daniel. I'm just saying you in general. It's like nobody cares about your opinions, bro. All right, cool. You don't like the show. Why are you here? Why are you here?
mean these works to be handled with care and faithful translations, but only as tools to fuel their ideology, with the dub version having Kinosaki say, "I'm not a girl," when the actual Japanese wording is Watashi Otokodashi, which translates to "I'm a guy after all," or as this Japanese user pointed out. Why are people who aren't even into anime the ones doing the translations?
Bro, facts, bro. It's a fact. You could tell that these people don't really fuck with the medium, bro. Because if they did, they wouldn't be so ideologically offended by what is like essential essences of anime and manga, very common tropes. Like they're bothered by very common tropes, very common themes, very common conventions that any anime and manga fan has long been exposed to and either decided that they can rock with or they can't. But these people are being hired on to work with and to work with and interact with anime and manga on a professional level, and they seem to be just so diametrically opposed to everything that makes it what it is, to the point where they can't even do their jobs properly. Interesting point that this person made. Why are people who aren't even into anime the ones doing the translations? In Japanese, it says, "I'm a guy," by the way. Perfectly clearly. It doesn't say "because I'm not a girl." Besides, in today's values, not a girl doesn't necessarily mean a man, right? So are they phrasing that way in a way that leaves room for gender ambiguity? Interesting.
In Japanese, it says, "I'm a guy," by the way, perfectly clearly. It doesn't say "because I am not a girl." Besides, in today's values, not a girl doesn't necessarily mean a man, right? So are they deliberately phrasing it in a way that leaves room for gender ambiguity? And just real quick, shout out to this user. I could tell he's high IQ. He's somebody who can read between the lines.
Japanese Twitter has been based, bro. They're catching on, they're catching the plot, and they're rocking out the way they need to rock to. I often say, you'll hear me say a lot, like, once the Japanese get up to speed and they figure out what's going on, they're not going to need us to defend them. But in the meantime, make sure that we get to, you know what I'm saying, make sure we helping them out, you know what I mean, making sure that we're ringing a bell for them. But yo, when they get in the field and they get swinging, bro, them Japanese Twitter users, they know what the fuck going on. They good.
Which is so hard to get people to do nowadays, but shout out to him. But real quick, as some of you may know, I've been learning how to draw little by little each day. And for this video,
and we see the progress, big dog. Okay. I've been starting to learn the guitar. That's been my other creative endeavor this year. So that's pretty dope, man. It's always up to like have skills that you're trying to work on that aren't directly related to like content creation in any way. Because a lot of time, like as a creator, you can not stop enjoying a work, but it can be like creator brain. You feel me? So sometimes you can remove, it can hurt your immersion a little bit because you can be watching a piece or reading a piece, and then you can start thinking of ideas. Oh man, this would make a good piece of content. Like this would make a good video, or I would love to break this down. And so you're constantly doing this back and forth. It feels like ADD sometimes. You know what I mean? So having something that you could be like, yo, I do this with no intention to create content, with no desire to have anything but just have it be a cool little hobby is dope. So obviously, like this is drawing for him, and it's like, it's just cool because it actually ties into what he does. I don't know if he would try to be like an artist channel or content creator, but that would be cool if in a couple of years when he gets there, that ends up being something that he does, right? You feel me? But it's cool when you can find things that line up with your already existing hobbies, but they can just be a pure sense of stress relief. Super dope, man.
I decided to do a Megami sketch from JJK, my second favorite character. I wanted to do Nanami, him being my favorite character, but I think the detail required was a bit out of my skill range, especially with the steampunk glasses. And him being my favorite character, RIP, I knew I would have to do him justice first, so I'll save him for a future video. And also shout out to those who send me their sketches and tune into my live streams, and the writers who send me their characters their artists have drawn.
Shout out to everybody that's been on the stream so far. Oh, wow. I am the pause king. I tell, bro. I promise I wasn't looking at the screen when I hit the pause button. And look at that. We paused on the motherfucking heavies, bro. I'll tell you, Aura God, Aura King, this vibe was proper. You know what I'm saying? My spirit was right, and we were justly rewarded. But shout out to everybody that's been on the stream so far, man. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, join the fam, join the Discord. We're having a good time here. We've been rocking out, having a good time, talking about what we're talking about. But yeah, let's continue.
It's a lot of talent out there, and as I always say, it's the independent creators that will carry creativity into the future. And if you as well want to begin drawing, I've tagged a sketchbook and a sketch toolkit in this video to get started with. But regardless, I always appreciate the love. Now back to the video. And this makes me proud that I'm not the only one who sees through the subtle attempts here to blur the lines, allowing ideological actors to hijack the conversation. While some like this user claim someone like me or Packer Girl, which shout out to Packer Girl for really calling this shit out on a very consistent basis.
Packer Girl be on it, bro. She be on it, bro. And not only that, but she'll go like second and third level. Like she really, a lot of times will research deeper into the issue. She'll find instances, examples, screenshots, the whole nine. She be doing her thing, bro. Shout out to her.
They would claim people like us are nitpicking, but this other user who responded also gets it. You're missing the point. For normal people, nothing changed, but those who changed it will claim that 100 genders exist. So telling you're not one of them implies unknown from 99 of the rest. We have to judge what comes from their logic, not ours. They will keep pushing it. The reason why Crunchyroll also had the dub saying regardless of gender when it's really man or woman. As the Japanese user stated, it's almost like they're intentionally leaving the door open for the IOF to argue that the character really isn't a man.
And they'll say it's a nitpick, right? They're saying, well, why do you guys care so much of these small lines of dialogue, or in the case of Yunyun Syndrome, 1,000 lines of why do you guys care? And it's like, okay, if you're asking me why do I care, then why did you care enough to change it? If it's not a big deal, why did you change it in the first place? Why did you feel the need to alter it if it's not a big deal? Answer me that. Riddle me that. Riddle me that, Batman.
Or Otokonoko, but really is trans. You just lack the media literacy to realize it. The IOF will go through leaps and hurdles, play mental gymnastics in every direction, all to fulfill their headcanon, which is fueled by their ideology, not their fandom. Something they did with Kiara and JJK. Check out my video on that if you're interested. Saying things like, well, Hikari said he's not into guys, which I'm still surprised they even tried to use that logic. And if you try to point out these inaccuracies and the corrupt localizations, people like this user will say, who gives a shit? Showing the divide between actual fans who care about the media.
Who gives a shit? Exactly. So why change it? If you're saying that it's not a big deal, so why change it at all? Because who gives a shit, right?
Medium and stories being delivered from a different culture, not wanting them to be compromised by ideological zealots. Or people just call you T-phobic for pointing it out. Like this, an overreaction at best here. Like, I get the meaning, but this is just to indirectly spread T-phobia, which Packer Girl responds well to. It wasn't intended to be T-phobic. Kinasaki isn't trans. The manga and English sub respect that shit. Well, up until episode 3.
If the truth is transphobic, then you need to redefine and re-examine your definition of transphobia. Period.
The anime respected it anyway. And this problem of the IOF is getting worse, now wanting entire stories and series to completely shift what it is at its origin, like with Gals Can't Be Kind to Otaku, about a guy who by no surprise is an otaku and two of the hottest girls in class befriend him, with one sharing a similar interest, though she tries to hide it.
Bro, Gals Can't Be Kind to Otaku is lit. This has been such a good series. It's so fun. And what I like too about it is at its core, for me, it's a love letter to fandom. Being a fan of a show or series and being like a super fan, really enjoying it, and ultimately finding people who share that passion. And especially like if you're like me who grew up in like the 90s and early 2000s when it really wasn't cool to fuck with anime like that, when you would like find people who were into it, you're like, oh shit, bro, you fuck with this too, lit. And it really did become like y'all little secret thing that y'all only talked about, you know what I'm saying, amongst yourselves and so on. And it's cool to have people who share those interests. And then in the case of him, it's always good. You know, let's be honest, it's always fun if you can share interest with a baddie as well, right? And in his case, he's sharing interest with two baddies. What's going on, bro?
ギャルと地味なオタク少年のカップル押せますね
And the other is just fascinated with his fascination itself. And this is another one I'm really enjoying. The opening definitely stands out, but besides that, it's
Bro, the opening is fire for this shit. It's so well done, bro. Hell yeah, bro. I was on an opening tear today. Like I was revisiting like a lot of like some of my favorite like openings and endings. So I was listening to my favorite ending, Wind, the first Naruto ending. I was obviously listening to Otonoke, the Creepy Nuts Dandadan season 1 opening. What was I listening to? Battle Cry from Samurai Shampoo. I was like Bing Bing Bong from Ashley Magic and Muscles, another Creepy Nuts one. I was having a good fucking time, fool. I'm not gonna hold you. Fucking Inferno, both Inferno from Fire Force Season 1 and Inferno from Berserk 2016. Oh, bro, I was going ham.
Just a fun.
Rojays, how does that series have controversy? Oh, are you talking about how gals can't be kind to otaku? So what he's referring to here, and I may run the video back a little bit more for you, as he was talking about. Hold on, I'll run it back a little bit. We'll start at the beginning of this segment. So he's gonna get into it deeper. So the issue that people were talking about was the fact that essentially, like, people who are watching the show were upset that it was not like a lesbian romance between Ichiji and Kei, right? Or the chick with the brown hair. They're like, yo, why is this not like a Yuri series? Why are they both interested in this like dweeby otaku dude? What the fuck? And he'll touch on it. He'll touch on it more. But that was where the controversy was kind of coming from for the this show.
地味なオタク少年のカップル押せますね
And the other is just fascinated with his fascination itself. And this is another one I'm really enjoying. The opening definitely stands out, but besides that, it's just a fun watch seeing someone fan out over his favorite hobbies and how his interest is admired by two baddies he assumed would never even know he's alive. But this had people reacting negatively to it, to say the least, assuming it was a Yuri from first impression and furious that a guy is the main character instead. Another effing gyaru, plain small guy. Can we at least get a gender bend or some ish? Yo, can we kill the guy and get Yuri instead? I'll be honest, I'm effing tired of gyaru's fetishization. They're not for you, lame incels. The way my face dropped when that guy came on screen. Great, more.
The tourists are strong with this one. I feel disruption in the fucking forest, bro. Tourist rage. A million tourists are crying out in agony.
Black hair self-insert slop, with this response putting that to shame. People.
Spy X Family is practically Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but only one of them is a super spy and the other is an assassin. If those two did the same thing, but the Smiths did, then there you have it. I can agree with that. Who knows? Mr. and Mrs. Smith might have been an inspiration for the show. You know what I mean? Look, the Japanese are a lot more tapped into like American pop culture than we give them credit for. And a lot of American IP, both classic comics, so on and so forth, were the inspiration for a lot of Japanese creators and the works that they made. They'll freely say it, which is why a lot of times those values and that degree of storytelling that was largely present in Western stories at one point in time is still living and thriving in Japanese and Eastern stories, because a lot of times they were inspired by American pop culture or Western pop culture in general. Facts.
Saying main character self-insert when the author is a woman. Holy LARP.
Bro, exactly. The author is a chick. Oh my god. I hit the volume by accident.
There are already anime in current season of what they want. This season already has a Yuri anime, by the way, but obviously they wouldn't.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not about whether or not they have series that already appeal to their interests, right? Whether it be gender interests, political interests. It's about whether the popular series that people are talking about have these things. It doesn't matter to them if it's not a popular series. So Girl Can't Be Kind to Otaku is one of the biggest anime as far as popularity wise in the current anime season. So they need this one to have it in there, because they don't really give a fuck about it, bro. It's about the message for them. They don't really care. They're not real fans. They're not just looking for it anywhere. They needed this to have it because this is the popular one. You dig?
Want to watch that instead. And all of this just fuels my point that the IOF suffers from extreme entitlement. Like I said before, they're like toddlers mentally stuck in the mind phase, believing every toy and thing belongs to them and demand to be catered to them in every way. The IOF can't imagine that anime serves different demographics. Like when I see an anime that isn't for me, I just move on to the next one, because thankfully anime.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. If some shit is not to my taste, I'm like, this isn't really for me. I'll give it a couple episodes. If I'm not fucking with it, bro, I move the fuck on, bro. I don't take the time to comment under Twitter threads and YouTube videos for the people who do enjoy it and talk about how much I don't fuck with the series and so on and so forth. If it comes up in conversation, I might be like, yeah, I'm not really rocking with the series, and I'm going to share my opinion, but I don't go out of my way to shit on a series I don't like. I'll be like, that wasn't for me, fool. And if why not? Then I might go off like, well, this, that, this, but I'm like, well, you asked, nigga. But, I didn't go looking to share his opinion, but you asked me for it, motherfucker. You did. But yeah, man, enjoy what you enjoy. Interact with and consume what you like. And rather than try to shit on properties that you don't like, fandoms of the properties, since you feel like if you don't like it, nobody else should. Like what you like. Spend time with the properties that you enjoy. We're here to be entertained, bro. You're here to be entertained. And that's my thing. Like I said earlier, I'm like, do these people even enjoy the entertainment that they're watching? Or are they here to have the message thrown in their face over and over again? It's like a weird circle jerk. Are you here to like mentally masturbate? You know what I'm saying? Are you here to find some escapism? What type of life do you live that you require all forms of media, news, whether you're on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, Instagram, whatever, has to be screaming this ideology, this mind virus to you 24/7. That's the only way that you can be happy in any way, shape, or form. That's a hard way to live, man. That's fucking exhausting. I don't know how these people do it, bro.
Provides great variety for me to do so. But this kind of mature thinking is too much to ask for from the IOF. It's alien to them. If you're into this anime and not wanting it to be Yuri, you're an incel. I guess they're calling me an incel. When really,
You're a fucking chud. You incel chud piece of fucking shit. Oh, fuck you, bruh.
I just like what I see, and I'm enjoying it, having fun rooting for this guy along the way. But the live and let live way of thinking is foreign to the IOF. These types are the same to screech about cultural appropriation, yet are more guilty of it practicing it than any person they accuse.
Facts. Because they'll scream about colonialization. They'll scream about, things going on in the Middle East and this and that, so on and so forth. Imperialism, blah, 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 blah. Well, aren't you looking to colonize Japanese culture by saying that this should change to suit your interests? Isn't that a form of colonization? But they're not ready to have that conversation, are they?
The term otokonoko for them is what they want it to be, going through massive mental gymnastics to justify injecting their ideology into that term. And if Japanese people correct them, the IOF just accuses them of being T-phobic, a tactic that thankfully even Japanese fans are becoming aware of, no longer caving into such labels being thrown out, and now realizing it's just a way to guilt trip you into bending the knee. And it's how Japanese media is becoming hijacked by these activists who are disguised as fans, but with this Japanese user summing it up well. Treating the wonderful work created by the author as a propaganda medium for their own politically motivated claims, taking advantage of the privilege of being translators.
Yeah, bro, sliding in there, trying to infiltrate and be like, okay, if you guys won't change what we have demanded that you change, then we'll change it for you. But the problem with that type of shit is if we as real fans do our jobs and continue to raise the alarm, solutions will present itself. These creators will get hip, these studios will go hip, and this tactic will become less and less and less effective. Facts. Something like this wouldn't be welcome to Japan either. It feels like the work is being appropriated for personal use, leaving me with a lingering unease and a sense of indignation. People don't like having their entertainment fucked with, bro. Especially by people who don't even really fuck with this shit. They just see it as a means to an end. You're not even a real fan. And here you are trying to fuck with shit and tell us how we should interact with it, what it should have said, so on and so forth. Have you even read this? Have you even really watched it? Or have you just watched it on YouTube or clips on TikTok? You've never probably even sat down and watched an entire episode of the show. What the fuck are we talking about?
Something like this wouldn't be welcomed in Japan either. It feels like the work is being appropriated for personal use, leaving me with a lingering unease and a sense of indignation. But that's all I have for this video. Tell me what you think in the comments.
Once again, great video by Monte Sensei. Make sure you go check him out. He's always dropping super dope think pieces like that. A real fan, talking this shit about anime and manga, bro, and sharing his opinion on things. So obviously, we react to his stuff all the time on the channel. Leave him a like, leave him a subscribe, do the damn thing, man. And if you haven't already, welcome to the stream. We've been here kicking it for a couple hours already. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, bro. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We got a gang of good stuff coming, bro. Why should the author change their story when it's popular for what it already is? Exactly, bro. But that's the thing with them. You notice that they never ask to have series that aren't popular changed. It's always like the popular ones that should change and bend because these are capturing the most attention, right? But yeah, why should the author change their story when it's popular for what it already is? And that's the important part. Us as fans, bro, it's important that we get in there and let them know that we're rocking with the story as it is. No real fan of a series, no person that is honestly looking to engage with the series is going to ask an author to change their creative vision. Either you're rocking with it or you don't. And if you're not, there is so much anime and manga if you're a real fan of the medium and don't just view it as a means to an end, or it's something problematic, or if you're not just here because it's popular now, it's cool to do so, then you'll just find something that you fucking like. Like he pointed out in his video, there's already Yuri series. There's a Yuri series this season, and there's a Boy Love this season. So if you're looking for that sort of representation, it's already there. The Japanese do it very well too. It's not going to be on the nose. You'll see that type of shit. It'll be well written. You'll have fun. If you're looking for trans stories, if they already have that shit, bro, like, come on, bro. It's already there. If you're a fan, it is going to be there for you already. Like, what are we talking about? But yeah, y'all, like I said, thank you guys for hanging out. I'm getting ready to get off here. Got some video work to do to get ready to get these drops together for you as we get closer to Mushika Tensei Season 3. Like I said, this has been a Friday night run that we did on a Saturday to make up for yesterday. Make sure that you like the channel. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm looking forward to growing this thing. We are closing in on 3,000 subscribers. It has been such a journey. I've been so happy to be here with you guys. I've told myself this year as I started again, I was going to get consistent with the streaming. And this is what, like 4 weeks in a row. We knocked it out. So we're going to continue to do here. We're going to continue to do it here, bro. I'm going to be with you guys every Friday. And if I mess up or I miss one, I'll be here the very next day. Make sure you're here next Friday at around 6, usually around 6 to 7 Pacific Standard Time. We start the streams. So pull up next Friday. Subscribe to the channel. Check out my my posts and whatnot. I'm always dropping polls and information. And join the Discord. Join the Discord. Once again, the Discord is in the pinned comment. Join the Discord. Join the team. Join the family. We're building the best anime community on the internet. I guarantee you. And you're gonna wish you were here earlier. Okay. So have a good one. Have a blessed Saturday. Peace, love, and peace, love, and prosperity.